highlight something that I think is very ironic. And I know a lot of people don't like it, but to me, that's human trafficking. You are coming, crossing over here on the border. You are planning, literally planning to cross into our country and have a stay here to have your child on the soil. And the Chinese have been doing it. Like they have literal companies that this is what they're doing. I hear the Russians are doing it. So knowing this, that they're already planning and violating and actually human trafficking their own children and families, no, they don't deserve any kind of citizenship. And I love it that Corey Mills out of Florida has introduced a bill that to amend the Immigration Act, that anyone that has come here illegally will not receive any citizenship. And I think Congress needs to get on that ASAP and make it retroactive. Because then when you make it retroactive, you're going to see how many individuals have come here illegally and had children on the soil for citizenship, which means it's fraud. And then you
Sway,
can be
sway,
denaturalized
sway
and
me. The
deported. Go
problem,
ahead, Carl.
sway me. The problem with a legislation going forward, it cannot be retroactive. If you put forth a legislation, a new legislation, it cannot be ex pro facto or something like that. It cannot be retroactive. That is the reason why I said last week in your space, if SCOTUS say this is a misapplication of this 14th Amendment, there should be something done at that particular time to make it retroactive. To say, okay, every state who have conferred uh, birthright citizenship on children that was born to illegal families, provide that information to the federal government. Some kind of way there are to be some measures put in place that those states that ran amok, did not do what the 14th Amendment said, and they conferred citizenship illegally. They should be have to report to the federal government all their births, all their birth certificates to children that parents were here illegally, and then there should be something that the federal government do in order to take care of this issue. That's my
Yeah,
thoughts at the
they're
moment.
not going to do that, Carl, because of the, like you said, the ex post facto law. So ex post facto is enshrined in a constitutional provision. You can't go back for something that was legal because people were following the law at that time, and so you wouldn't be able to do that. We can only do it moving forward, right? And so I think if we couple what Trump is doing right now by getting these people out, and we increase it by tenfold by hiring potentially private paramilitary organizations to help assist in getting them out as quickly as possible, we could rectify much of the damage that was done by
But
this.
we can prove they received citizenship under fraudulent measures and can denaturalize and deport that way and revoke citizenship. Also,
You,
that and
hold on, Swamy.
yeah,
Let me ask a question to you about that. So you're saying it would be fraudulent in that it was a fraudulent view or interpretation of the 14th Amendment?
it is they received citizenship under fraudulent measures, just like they are speaking about Ilhan Omar. She married her brother so that he could come here for citizenship, right, and get citizenship. So she can be denaturalized. Her brother can be denaturalized and um, citizenship revoked and deported. So I think that could be a way that we could circumvent this de facto, because we will know. I remember being in New York in the 90s, and I know the immigrants know that they were doing this against the law, right? Because they were attempting to get individuals to marry American citizens so they can get citizenship. So we know this is a scam, and it's just continued to escalate over the years. I remember the immigration offices would have to come to their homes and make sure these marriages were legitimate, because they were willing to pay Americans to stay on the soil. And the thing about this also is DACA has been ruled illegal. So that's going to revert all the way back to what Obama did, and some of the DACAs came here what in the 80s. So Mark, are you there? Did you want to speak? I see your hand up, but I wanted to highlight that we can denaturalize these people and deport them and rescind their citizenship.
All right, so 1 second.
Yeah,
One
I
second,
think
Mark.
if we,
Go ahead. No, what you saying, Peter?
I was going to say, I agree with you, but we have to link it to actual fraud, right? Like the actual fraud with the Ilhan Omar case is that she was falsifying documents saying her brother was her husband. That's clearly fraud, and she should clearly be deported for that. It's going to be a much, much more difficult leap. I was going to say stretch. It's not even a stretch. It would be a leap to then go ex post facto, right? Because you'd be saying, just by virtue of the interpretation from the 14th Amendment that's been accepted for years, decades even, that they have to go. I don't think they're going to do that. So I think we can, though, do things that relate to fraud. And we saw it this past week with 2 judges getting locked up. So, this administration is not playing around, and everything is on the table, which is exciting.
So I want to say this real quick. I want to say this. So this is the second hour. I want to bring this question into the fold. Is the NFL racist, right? We all saw the drama that unfolded with Shedeur Sanders being drafted in the 5th round. There are a lot of people online, like the Jason Whitlocks and others, that are saying, well, they're arrogant, they're flashy, conceited or whatever. Some people are saying that the NFL is racist, like particularly the Giants, because they had opportunity to pick him because they need a quarterback, and they picked someone who was not that good. And apparently it was coming out saying he did have a meeting, but he wasn't prepared. But why do people have a problem with Deion Sanders and his son? And I just see a father looking out for his sons and schooling them on the business of the NFL, the same way the Manning's father did his kids, and he was very vocal about where his kids, his 2 sons, were not going to go, where he wanted them to go. So when you have a black man doing it, what is the problem? And then just overall, people have been saying the NFL is racist because there's no black owners. Maybe we should have our own black NFL league. We did have a Negro baseball league, and that, evaporated and due to multitude of things. So that's a question that I'm gonna add into this discussion. So again, if people want to request to come up, please do so. Please like and repost this space, and like Peter always say, bookmark it. And hello to everybody on YouTube. We are live on YouTube. Please like and share as well. So we're still talking about the 14th Amendment. And the second question on the table is the NFL, are they racist? So go ahead, Mark, and then I'll go to Empress.
Yeah, so let me quickly respond to the NFL and racism. The majority of the NFL is black men with white women. So I mean, I really don't even get off involved. That's something for shut up to deal with. I don't care about no bunch of black men with white women. As soon as they get a check, they go get a white woman. So I don't care what the hell they do with them. But let me get back to this part, right? We are the court of public opinion. And so when we speak out, and I guess I'll just go over a couple of things that I said prior to. We are the court of public opinion. And one of the first things we have to stop saying, or should I say, is calling these people migrants. You migrate within the country that you're in. When you come across the border, it's no longer migration. You're not a migrant. Okay? You're an illegal immigrant, an illegal alien. Okay? And so when you're using these soft terms, you're really aiding and abetting your demise. No, these are illegal immigrants. These are not asylum seekers. You know why they're not asylum seekers also? It's because asylum seekers are running across the border because they're in threat of their life, right? Because they're a threat on their life. Well, how could you be under a threat when after working a few months and during the time that you're working, you're sending money back to that country that you're from, and then eventually you go back 6 months to a year to visit that country? So how the hell were you running for your life if you went back to that country to visit and then came back over here to continue to make money. And so a lot of our problems are coming from the wrong terminologies that we're using. This softening uh, um, of the blow against these oppositions. Y'all got to get a little more, serious. You got to put your foot on the necks of these people. They're here to undermine some places, supplant you.
I want
Go
to
ahead.
insert something because I just had an idea. So when the Trump administration present their oral remarks to SCOTUS on the 15th of May, the 14th Amendment does not say former slaves, but it does say all persons born and naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. It doesn't, so it includes us, but it doesn't specifically say us. However, the Trump has came out and said, well, it was really meant for the Black Americans who, enslaved Black Americans, enslaved Blacks or whatever.
Go back to
Let
the
me
interpretation.
Let me finish. So being that he came out and said it, it's not specifically saying for us in it, but it does include us. And if Trump has been coming out in the media pushing back against the illegals by way of the 14th Amendment. So it's interesting because what is going to be, if SCOTUS sides with the Trump administration, is going to have to be a quote unquote asterisk in the 14th Amendment, an extension. So will that extension include Black Americans, right? And if so, how can that benefit us? That's the question that I'm throwing out there, along with the NFL question, because he's going to have to argue what it was meant for Black people who were formerly enslaved, American descendants of slavery. You can say Freeman, whatever you want to call yourself. We know who we're talking about. They're going to argue that, because you have to argue something to separate what is the
See, it's
difference.
not going to be an
Let me
argument.
finish.
It's not going to be an
Let me
argument
finish.
because
I'm just speaking. This is not this comment is not specifically to you or anybody. I'm just speaking and I'm throwing it out there. They're going to argue who it was for, because you're going to have to make a difference between, okay, it says all persons, but they're going to be specific on who it's for, and that is us. How do we benefit from that? Because there is a door of, okay, let's do some deals here. So yeah, so that's open on the floor if anybody want to touch on that.
I'll go
So you
after
think
Mark and Peter. I'll go.
it won't be an argument. The Supreme Court is going to interpret, and they're going to go back to the time in which it happened, and they're going to quote those who put it in place. Trump was very strategic to do exactly what he's doing, and that is force the Supreme Court to rule on the 14th Amendment. It's the same way they just did with affirmative action. Remember what happened with affirmative action? He intentionally forced them to have to give the proper interpretation. You
Well,
can't
what did he do
rewrite
with
the law.
affirmative action?
Well, he basically ruled that these other people from these other countries weren't freemen.
What was? Well, I
No,
don't
with
know. Go back and
Mark,
go
with
back and read
affirmative
what
action, they
Clarence
threw it
Thomas said.
out. They basically, that was from a college case from Harvard, right? It was actually instituted by Asians because
But also read what Clarence Thomas said. Go back and look at what Clarence Thomas said. I can't
Okay, so
say
I
that wasn't
can.
verbatim.
Trump.
Okay.
That you're talking about. Okay, that wasn't a Trump administration. That was a organization that took that to SCOTUS. You confusing
I
me right there
understand.
with the
So what
Trump
I'm
thing.
saying, what I'm showing you is that the Supreme Court is being pushed against the wall to give the proper
But that's what I'm
interpretation
saying,
of
right?
all
I
these.
get all that. I don't need. I don't need that to be explained to me. I already know that, and that's what I'm saying. They're going.
Okay, cool.
The Trump administration is going to basically use Black Americans as to this is what it's for, and this is what separates the
And
illegals
we're
to
gonna
this.
agree with
So
it.
what I'm saying is, if the Supreme Court sides, right, because they're gonna have to need like five of them to side with the Trump administration, then
Right.
it's going to have to be an asterisk under the 14th. This is an amendment. This is part of our Constitution, an amendment, the 14th Amendment. So if we are specifically labeled in this amendment, then how can we use that?
It will be Freeman. They've already stated it. Some Supreme Court justices have already via the affirmative action when they wrote their opinions, their briefs.
I'm sorry, can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah.
I can hear you,
Can
Dana.
you hear me?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I hate when it does that. It knocks me out, and I just came back in.
Okay. I did hear something go out. I
It
thought
said there
someone
was a
was coming back.
connection issue, yeah, but
Yeah.
luckily you have co-hosts. It'll
Yeah,
keep it on for 2 minutes.
yeah, thank you. And to all you hating ass people, leave my goddamn space alone. Go ahead. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I was just saying that was a part of the affirmative action, where they do state that the Constitution is race neutral. It doesn't mention race, right? So they were stating that in the 14th Amendment, because of how it was constructed, yes, it's for everyone, but at the time it was constructed, it was for the freedmen. And so many of the justices, even Ketanji Brown Jackson, have stated freedmen. So that's really the legal standing or status of Black Americans, which would be freedmen at the time. So if we're written into it or determined, and like Carl said, this is a time of reconstruction that we have not been made fully whole as citizens, right? Because how is it that, and I'm going to keep pointing this out, um, we're supposed to be made whole and full citizens via the 14th Amendment, yet we still had to go through black codes. And so, in this day and time in 2025, we are still not in our rightful position as the Americans. And the fact that they've utilized the 14th Amendment and weaponized it against us as the Americans goes into our reparations claim to me. That's how I can link it all, because we still have not been made full and whole. And there's no reason why in 2025 our people are at the bottom as everyone else immigrate to this country and put on top of us. So I think this is
But see, there is a reason. There is a reason, and that reason is I keep saying it to us, and we have to really pay attention and hammer this home. The African Americans, the black elites, the boule, they are in agreement with bringing these people in to undermine us, and so we must go against them. It was them that allowed them to be included under the 14th Amendment and this whole minority and all that language that's being used, DEI. It was them that gave the green light.
But
And so we
that's not the question that I'm throwing out here on the table. If the Trump administration, then I'm gonna go to here's the order.
no, you're
Empress,
not
wait
letting me finish.
one
First of
second,
all,
Mark.
you keep
Mark,
cutting
one
me out.
second.
You keep
Mark,
cutting
one
me off.
second.
I'm trying to
Okay,
go
one
to the
second.
point.
This is the order. Empress David 7 Sally. What I threw out there was, if the Trump administration is, they're going to mention Black Americans. So if SCOTUS sides with them, right, the 14th Amendment is going to be race neutral, but also be specific, adding our lineage to it. So how
Is
can
Dana
we
talking?
build off that?
Yeah, Dana's speaking.
I'm saying to you, okay, just let me run through
All right,
this,
who
and
can't hear me? I'm
I'll just
sorry,
be
Mark, one
quiet about it.
second.
The people weren't
Who couldn't
here.
hear
They
me?
weren't here.
Peter, was it someone
Who?
who couldn't hear me?
Somebody asked if you were speaking. I don't know who it was. Was
I
it
think
you?
it was
Was it
Carl.
Carl or Carl? You want me to drop you and then bring you right back up so you could hear?
Yeah, because the space, it was the connection was kind of janky. So go ahead, Mark, and then Empress.
So the Supreme Court is going to interpret based on the fact that these people weren't here. You know what I mean? They don't have. There is no having to add anything. They're going to take it back to that time when these people weren't here, and they're gonna take. They're going to interpret the law the way it was written by those who put it in place. Now, I just want to just run through these things, these couple of things. Look, and this is to those who align themselves with um, this whole immigrant agenda because you could think you're a Democrat or you think you're part of this Democratic coalition. Uh, you are working against the interests of yourself and your future of your children. So you mean to tell me you're gonna cry and fight for those who are here to replace you? And this is to those that are in the space and on your YouTube channel. You know, wake up. You're fighting for your replacement. You're fighting for what happened to our people in California to happen all across the country. Now I know some of y'all in California, you know, you were saying things such as, "Oh, this was their land already." I don't know who taught y'all that crazy stuff. But you see what it got y'all since y'all were crying for them and standing for them. They replaced you, used you up, and then and booted you out of all sectors. So it don't even matter if you know what kind of degrees what level of academic achievement you have. They don't need you when they finish using you up. They've shown you that in California, and this is going to happen all over the country if we don't, as Americans, go against this. Also, you look at how they're interpreting this whole thing about the 14th Amendment. It works the same way when you with these DEI programs, minority, the set aside programs, BIPOC, all of them are being used in the same the same way, and it is to undermine us. And so I'm specifically speaking to our people, and and America
Aren't we
first.
all Americans?
The
Like
America
when you say my people, our people, like to me, you're an American, I'm American, we're all the same, right? Are we not?
I got you, but that's why I'm making a point of information. I'm saying to all of us as Americans, but I'm specifically speaking to our group, and I think you should speak to your group and get them to understand the same, right? Because there's some on your side, like some on our side, who see nothing wrong with this mass immigration. We don't see it as the threat that it is. All right. Now that's why I'm making a point that let me say it this way: the white nationalists and the black nationalists had better get to the table and have a real conversation. And I'm calling us white and black nationalists because at the core of us, we hate each other. And I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say what most people are not gonna say. At the core of us, we hate each other, and we stay on our side of the tracks. But as Americans, we must come together against this mass immigrant plan to undermine us, so that we are the court of public opinion. We must pressure the Supreme Court to rule in favor of immigrants not being able to use this 14th Amendment, misuse this 14th Amendment at the expense of our futures to come. Okay? And the Freedmen's Bureau, all that, when y'all look at what they're doing with the Freedmen's Bureau, for example, what did the vice president do? Not only did she take other groups there and BIPOC the Freedmen's Bureau, they locked the door so freedmen couldn't get in.
They surely did. Yep.
Okay?
All right.
And so we had all better
I
I,
wanna
wake up. We had
oh,
all better wake
Dana, I
up.
want to talk about
go
what
ahead,
you.
Peter, then I'm gonna go to
Yeah, I want
Empress.
to answer your question. I don't see a compromise or some type of horse trading happening because this is going to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is going to do what they feel they should do to solidify their legacy as whatever they want to be, right? It's always said when a lawyer gets on the Supreme Court that robe does something to their brain, right? And so I think in this situation, they are going to overturn it, at least this provision of Section 1. And I think there has to be a concurring case or another case that's brought forth or legislation, right? Because I'm in a lot of different rooms specifically talking about reparations or restitution, as other people call it. And they're holding that it has to come from the legislature, that it can't come from the courts. But I mean, we could have that discussion, I guess, on another day. But I don't see there being, to your point, like a horse trading or compromise. I think they're just going to get rid of it, and there has to be another test case that comes up that's ripe enough for them to then address the reparations restitution issue.
Well, I will say that I do believe this is our opportunity as Freedmen to highlight. We also want to reestablish our Office of Freedmen Affairs throughout the nation. And this can be a part of the beginning, since there is a Reconstruction going on in America. We need our own autarky of offices so that we are not lumped in with minorities and immigrants, because that's a big play right now. And all of the immigrants coming over, grifting off of our plight and our narratives. They've never, ever experienced what we've experienced. We do not need to be lumped in with Jews that are now minorities. So yeah, that is the ask on our end, and having our agenda together as Freedmen.
I
Yes,
want to go to
it was the Freeman Bank, not the Freeman Bureau, that was co-opted.
Yeah, but we
I
want
want to
our
go
own
to
offices regardless. We want our own whatever Freedmen banks, credit unions, just like Louis Pasteur, that was sitting there at the Freedmen's Forum saying that the Latinos and Hispanics are not going to wait. They are here to take what is ours. So we want anybody here right now. We should have any and everything that any and everybody else has. As a founding population of Americans that did this work and have many inventions and have contributed to this society becoming a superpower and a first world nation. There's no reason why we should be the bottom in our country, our land.
I want to go to Empress.
I'm going to be doing something, so I want to come back and allow Miss Sally to speak,
Okay.
and then I'm going to give an in-depth from a astrological point on this topic. Give me one
That's so
moment.
Okay.
amazing. I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you to do a reading for the room potentially at the end to just see where we're going this year, the year of the snake. That's amazing.
So, how about I'll go to David, Sally, and Michael. I don't see 7.
David, you're up. 7 dropped. I'll bring her back up.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
We could hear you.
Yes.
Good evening.
Hey, can you hear me?
We could hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Hey, Dana, I think it was you that said that something about a footnote. If it was argued, did you say something similar to that? A footnote or something would have to be mentioned?
Yes. If the Trump administration legal team, their argument, part of their arguments is saying, well, it was specifically for former slave, i.e., Black Americans, to separate, us from illegals. And
Hmm.
if SCOTUS sides with the Trump administration, it's going to have to be like a footnote asterisk in the 14th Amendment. And if it is, and if they specify Black Americans, right?
Hmm.
My question was, how can we use that to benefit us? That's what
Oh, okay. So yeah, I was thinking as far as a footnote, but wouldn't that have to go back through like Congress and the Senate to have like a 2/3 vote to because they would have to amend the amendment, right?
You'd have to actually, if you're talking about for restitution or reparations, you'd have to create a whole new amendment, right, to honor Special Field Order 15.
Yeah, that's just for
Like,
reparations and restitutions. But for this,
Uh-huh.
no, once we already have a 14th Amendment, but whatever SCOTUS rules,
Uh-huh.
right?
Right, right.
Congress don't approve it. That's just law. Whatever the
Okay.
Supreme Court says.
Oh,
That's
okay. All right. Yeah, that was my question. I appreciate that.
yeah, the decision, David, would be binding, right? So I agree with Dana much in light of what we saw with the recent gun decision in Bruin, where
Uh-huh.
the Supreme Court said that we're going to go back to a early contextualist view of the Constitution, back from how it was written and how it was perceived back then. And if there's nothing that states that there's going to be more restrictions than would have been put forth, it's going to be
Right.
very difficult for us to continue to allow that to happen. I think they say the same thing here. I think, like Mark said, they go back and they take a contextualist view and they go back and read other documents from other leaders in the government or major voices that were shaping a lot of this policy back then, and then
Right,
they
right.
look at it through that lens.
Oh, okay. That would be good for us then if they went back to that time period, right?
Absolutely, because then
Okay.
you're gonna see the reasoning for it was not to allow Chinese birthright tourism to come here so they can eke off the benefits. It was designed specifically in lieu and in light of what happened with chattel slavery.
Oh, okay, great, great. Thank you.
Yep.
I
Thanks for
think,
coming up.
Peter, I
Mhm.
think that you summed up what I was trying to express is that
I'm sorry.
with this whole, what was that?
I said I'm sorry for stealing your thunder.
Oh no, I'm going to add to it because you brought it full circle to where I was wanting to go, because we went like 300 different paths, but from whatever reason we had. But no, it's very important. From everything that I've understood and all the different rooms I participated in and the lawyers I've listened to, Trump's intent is to go back to the language as it was written from a conservative view of the Constitution, right? You could only become a citizen if you are born from someone who is naturalized. So if you are not a citizen of the United States and you give birth, that does not automatically give your child citizenship. And someone had mentioned earlier that they did not necessarily mention blacks. Unfortunately, black Americans were the majority of slaves, but there are also other slaves as well. So I think that would be the reason as to why they have not included specifically Black Americans. However, it obviously includes you. You are here, you were brought here against your will, your parents were citizens, you were born from citizens of the United States, so you are legal citizens of the United States. Is to prevent, just like David and Peter said, from Chinese people coming in at 7 months, they're pregnant, they come have the baby, the child now has citizenship, they go back to their country, and now their children reap the benefits of United States citizen. So they're even if they are not residing in this country, they are reaping all of the benefits of this country, right? They can come here, go to college, go back home and say, oh, well, I'm just not going to pay back my debt. So there's a lot of ways that they can manipulate the system to gain money as well. So if Trump, even whatever they do, if they go back to the original language as it was written, and they enforce it, going back in time will be a challenge, right? When do you say, at what point do we cut this off, that your parents came here, gave birth, and took you back home, or they decided to stay, right? So you're supposed to be a citizen, a naturalized citizen. So you're either born here or you have gained your citizenship, which there's only two ways that you can gain your citizenship into the United States or come into the United States, is if your parents, or if you are fleeing persecution, right? So your country is being ethnically cleansed. So you can seek asylum. You could petition to get citizenship of the United States. So all these other people that are finding all these other ways to become a citizen of the United States needs to stop. And I don't know who said earlier that there should be a moratorium for 10 years on all immigration. I 100% agree with that. We have 350,000 plus missing migrant children that have come across the border just since Biden took office. Our government has spent $20 billion to various NGOs that have helped facilitate the bringing migrants, not immigrants, migrants, right? Because they're not permanent, into this country. $20 billion of our taxpayer dollars have gone to help facilitate child trafficking. And unless we put a stop to the illegal and legal immigration right now until they get that under control, it's going to continue. I mean, I put an example in the purple pill because I couldn't speak earlier. Like, we take, for example, you have Haitians. Oh, Biden, I almost called him Obama. Oh, Biden. He brought 20,000 Haitians into Ohio. They were brought here legally, right? They were brought here in visas to work in factories. Everyone focuses on this whole voting angle, but it's bigger than the voting angle. They brought them in here to keep our economy working because they're like, oh, you can't work because, this COVID thing, but yet they'd bring people in, migrants into work in factories. They would then have to house them. So who benefited from the housing? Oh, probably some corrupt politician, right? Who benefited from the food stamps, the food programs, General Mills? You have so it's like a system. So we're thinking just voting, but it's a bigger thing that they've been doing. And who is getting the kickbacks? All these corrupt elites in our government, and in the process, they're smuggling and trafficking children through these MS-13 gangs. And I said a lot there. I apologize. Thank you.
Well, Sally, I just want to let you know, the 14th Amendment expresses that or the Civil Rights Act of 1866 expresses that Indians were not citizens, and they were not citizens of the United States because they were sovereign nations and they had treaties at the time of emancipation and the creation of the 13th, 14th Amendment. But they did not become citizens of the United States until 1924 under the Snyder Act. I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I haven't looked too much into that part of it, so I'll get more educated so I can speak more intelligent about that. But that's thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Michael, is he still up here?
He's here.
Hey, what's going on, Dana? What's good, Peter?
What's up, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, the law, man, the 14th Amendment law, um, I got like two sides to it because it's just like, it's like what if okay, if somebody crossed the border, right, and they have a baby with an American, then is their kid not supposed to be an American now because the mom is still immigrant? It's like it's too many sides to it. But what I want to say is like the pros of immigrants in this country is you got places like Vegas. It wouldn't even be no Vegas if it wasn't for the Italians. You got Miami. It wouldn't even be no Miami if it wasn't for the Colombians and the Cubans and whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like
Roll that back, roll that
hold
back,
up.
roll that back. I'm gonna have to I have to correct you. The city of Miami was founded with my ancestors and some white settlers.
I know
Freeman.
that. I know
Okay,
that. But
so I'm trying
I'm
to
I'm,
figure
I'm
out how
talking
you.
about I'm talking
Okay.
about I'm talking about how Miami is viewed today. I'm talking about you know before them Colombians and the Cubans was down in Miami. It was like a kind of a wasteland. The city was there, but it wasn't this luxurious place.
Yeah, but
You
Mike,
know what I'm saying?
if a child's born to an American citizen, either mother or father, they would be considered an American citizen. So that's not going to be affected by this being overturned. It's literally for people coming here, being on U.S. soil, giving birth, and then saying because they were born on this soil, they are now a citizen, and you're not going to deport the mother
Yeah, I
from the
I,
child.
I,
Right? Go
I
ahead.
understand that, but man, like I believe, man, Trump, he just in the office. He's shaking up everything right now. He changing laws from like 1960. He just did a law. He changed on segregation from like 1960 something. Why are you doing that, bro? Like address the problem. We could address problems today, but we could correct them. We could we could tweak them a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Now, like the cons of immigration coming in. I don't believe in mass immigration coming in because that's the reason why the housing market went up and your rent went up because it's demand. It's a whole bunch of people coming in looking for housing. You know what I'm saying? They need to be fixing that part. You need to be fixing the border, like the Canadian border. You can't even get in Canada if you got child support or if you got a warrant. You can't get to Canada. Why are we not fixing that problem? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, let me ask him a question. Let me ask you a question because you sound like you're from the East
I'm from
Coast,
the
right?
East,
Are you?
Mark. You know who
Right,
I am,
right.
Mark.
Now, no,
It's
I actually
Michael.
don't. So, okay. Well, I still don't. Right. So, are you an immigrant or you part immigrant
Like I
or
said, my listen. My people come from Jamaica,
exactly?
and
So
wait. I'm American too, though.
let me
Okay.
see. I asked you that question the way you spoke on Miami. It clearly lets me know that you have no clue the history of Miami. Because so if I ask you about Overtown, tell me the history of
I
Overtown.
don't even know what Overtown is, bro.
I know you don't. Right, exactly. And if I go off into some other things, you have no clue. So these people did not develop Miami. All right,
I'm talking about the culture
Miami
down there, though.
Miami was there when they
We
got
know,
there.
but we
Okay,
know it was there.
okay.
But Mark, when Miami was there, was it how it was until they got there? Like, let's be real. Miami was built off drug money. Your politicians will tell you that.
No, Miami was there before the drugs existed. Got to.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying to you, and you don't understand
The
because
city was
you've been
there.
get.
The city was there.
Well, I'm just gonna leave it at this. You are not an American, so you don't. I
I'm
mean,
not
it's
an
a waste of time
American.
having this
I'm an
conversation.
American. You
No,
could trace me back to the slavery.
okay. You're not a descendant of American
Yes,
child
I
of
am. My
slavery,
grandpa.
so
My
you don't
listen,
not
listen,
in
understand.
listen,
America. Your people are not
listen.
emancipated, and you don't have
Hold up. Before y'all
ancestors
talk,
on this
before y'all
soil.
talk,
So
before y'all
please
talk.
stop.
My grandpa is from Philadelphia, bro. My grandpa last
So
name
why
was
are you
Hodges
claiming Jamaican
because I claim
before
Jamaican.
freedmen?
I could claim Jamaican.
Okay,
I don't
all
have to
right. This
claim
is
that. What the hell
this is a
wrong with
perfect
y'all?
So
example
the
why
question, wait,
bioethnics will
one
not be
second.
freedmen.
So are both of your parents Jamaican?
My dad is Jamaican. My mom is half Jamaican, half American.
Okay. So on your mom's side, she has a part of her that is
Yes.
native
Her
here.
her dad is American. Straight up slavery, whatever you want to claim, whatever you want to call
But
that
her
stuff.
mother was Jamaican.
Dana,
Wait
Her
one
mother
second,
was
Mark.
Jamaican.
Dana.
Mark, one
Her mo-
second. But her mother
Uh-huh.
was Jamaican.
her mother was Jamaican.
Okay. And then did her mother come here and did your legally and did your dad come here
My
legally?
my 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 grandma came here on she got the right she had
What
got a
year did she
visa to
come?
work.
What
My
year?
grandma came here in the 60s.
Oh, okay, so that's different. So
That's different.
let me just put this there for context. Immigrants, especially when the 1965 Voting Act, and then after that, it was the new Naturalization Act that was passed, which was pushed by Black Americans to increase the quota so that Black people from the Caribbean and different continents in Africa and throughout the diaspora can come here. So, and then a lot of Caribbeans did, but those immigrants during that time that came here, let's say 60s, 70s, they were had a different mindset to where they were pro-black, so they knew what time it was and what Black people went through here in America. So I get what you're saying, Michael. So that's different if your parents or grandparents came here in the 60s and then they were born, you were born. That's different. Honestly, when we're talking about these fresh immigrants, and not even the ones that came here legally, and then of course the illegals that just came here, but the immigrants, for me, I go back to 2000, and even some in the 90s, because that fresh batch of immigrants coming here, they do not, um, they don't really link up, work with, or even understand the history of number one, America, because they just come here for money, and then number two, Black Americans. So that's different when your parents or grandparents came here in the 60s. They had a different mindset.
Yeah.
So Dana, and that's they don't know their place.
No,
But
no,
but
They don't
but
know
Mark,
their
no.
what
place in
place
this
I
what
country.
disagree with
what
No,
places you
Mark.
y'all
supposed to
being too
know though,
nice
Mark?
about this.
What
No,
You're
Mark.
not a
Y'all
That's
being
not
freedman.
too
You're
nice
not
true.
a
about this.
freedman.
That's why
no,
we
So
having
listen,
this
you
listen.
debate.
can't speak from our
Dana,
perspective.
Dana,
You can't speak
I'm
on our
talking. I'm talking to
politics
Dana. I'm
either.
Who
talking
You're
to
you
not
Dana.
a
talking
freedman.
you talking to me?
So Dana,
Yes,
Dana,
yes,
Hold up, hold up, hold
listen,
up.
exactly.
But
listen.
Yes.
listen.
See all
Wait,
that
wait, wait.
liberal, all that you can't play
Mark,
this
Mark.
liberal go along. I'm talking to Dana, man. See, y'all got this whole liberal mindset when y'all dealing with your opposition. All right, these people don't have no respect for those that fought to bring them here. See, Minister Farrakhan and them got respect. Malcolm and them had respect. Okay,
I, I, I,
those that
I'm, I,
came, excuse me, man, I'm not talking to you. So those that came during that time, like a Minister Farrakhan and them and all of them that are Caribbeans, they know their
Well, they
what
place.
didn't come. No,
They
no.
respect our
Farrakhan and them didn't
people.
come here in the 60s. They came way
Uh,
prior to that.
are you? I
I'm
don't care
talking
when they
about.
came. I'm
No,
saying
this is what I'm talking
I'm.
about. The
I
immigrants,
know
the
exactly
Black
what you're speaking
immigrants that
on.
came here
I
in
Why are
the
know
you talking
exactly
over
what
the
you're speaking
host? You're
on, and
1960s.
being
that's
disrespectful to the host.
I'm 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 talking
okay.
about the immigrants that came here in the 1960s, the Black immigrants, because we didn't have a lot of Black immigrants prior, because the quota was really designated for Europeans. So after the civil rights, after the voting rights, and then the naturalization was changed to increase the quota for Caribbeans and South Americans just throughout the diaspora. But even those people that came here in the 60s, they were on that, whether it's Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, they had that
That's why
education. So
I'm speaking on
it's
Minister
a different
Farrakhan.
it was a coalition of that batch of immigrants.
I'm
So that's what I'm talking about.
but I'm saying, Mark, what place or sway me, both of y'all, what place is somebody supposed to have? Like what place is they supposed to have? Because what you
Go talk to the older Caribbeans, because it's a waste of time
No, it's
talking to
not.
you.
I'm trying. You
The only
explain
way
to
you
me
learn
what
your
place
place is
is
by
anybody supposed
I'll
to
tell you
have?
your
You supposed to
place.
listen.
bow
Listen.
down and kiss your feet or
I'll
something?
tell you your place. I'll tell you your place. You're not a descendant of a freedman that we're talking about the 14th Amendment
I mean,
about
I am
right now.
though. I am.
You
So what are
you
you saying?
hold on. No, no, no. You cannot speak for me and my people and our politics. You just came up here and just overlooked our ancestors being
How?
founders of the city of Miami, and they were disenfranchised and everything that they
I
went
never
through.
said that y'all wasn't
Yeah,
founders
hold on,
though.
hold on. I'm telling you why you cannot speak for my people. You do not have the history. You do not have the culture. And this is a huge problem we're having right now with the humiliated immigrants, even in Congress right now.
Okay.
None of
Okay.
them, hold on, I'm not complete. None of them are even talking about our issues, which we have been out there yelling to them, screaming to them, emailing them, attempting to meet with them, and they are ignoring us. And you just did the same thing on this stage. I
No,
land.
no, no. What I'm trying to say, can I explain to you? Because y'all be getting riled up. All right. Name another city in America like Miami. Name one
Wait,
city in
okay,
America like
one
Miami.
second, Michael. What is? I need to understand what is your premise behind your statement?
I'm saying the culture in Miami was built by Cubans and Colombians, man.
Okay, so
You know what I'm saying?
you're not incorrect. You're not incorrect. However, you are talking at a certain time period of the 70s when
Yeah.
Carter was in administration, and he allowed Cubans to come to from Cuba to come here. What was that wet foot dry foot shit? And then what Fidel Castro did,
From
he
Mariel. Yep.
opened up,
They
yeah,
opened
he
the
opened
prisons.
up
Yep.
the prisons and sent, the degenerates. Now,
Tony
on top,
Montana.
but during the revolution in, what was that, the late 60s, when Castro came into power, the elite Cubans who were fair skinned and they are able to put white in here in America, they came here when Baptista was cast out of Cuba. So they came here, and it was no wet foot dry foot. It was an open door because they were the elite out of Cuba. So what you're talking about is white Cubans that were the elite Cubans in Cuba that came prior to the wet foot dry foot in the 70s. So if you're saying that, okay, they made Miami what Miami is today, that is because our government gave them resources and created public policies to give them an economic uplift, especially the affluent Cubans, because Fidel took all of their wealth. So our country compensated for them. So you don't know the history of how did it come about to have a very large Cuban population in Miami, and also how did it come about a very large Haitian population in Miami, because Haitians also had got public policies and some resources, not as much as the Cubans, but they did get resources that overstepped and overlooked the Black Americans that were already there. This is not a history lesson because we could technically go back centuries prior to where pirates on the Bahamas and the Caribbeans in the 1700s, 1600s will go in and out of Florida. But we ain't talking about that. We're bringing it into the 20th century. So you are speaking to refugees that were given an economic uplift by the expense of Black Americans, freedmen's,
Not just black Americans, not just black Americans, white Americans too.
No, 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 sir. No,
Americans,
sir.
period.
No, sir. No, sir. Because
Like
during that
everybody pay
time, no, no, no,
taxes.
Michael, Michael, no,
Dana,
and this is the
Dana.
first time I had to press the mute button because Michael, you don't know history. You don't know, and I'm not going to say Black history. You don't know American history. So white Americans in Florida, they were good. They were good. They've been good. So you cannot include the white Americans. White Americans for anything, they probably said, well, why are these people coming over here? But at the same time, they were already good. So let me move on to just stay right there, Michael. Let me move on to let me move on to Art and then Andre. And then I gotta figure out who else is here. Lid. I see.
I
Oh,
think
I
I
see
put my
Bruce.
hand up way
Bruce,
before these people. Can I just go real quick?
go
Is that
ahead.
okay, Dana?
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is a question. So we're having this conversation, right? The question that I never hear anyone ask is, what is an American? What does it mean to be an American? So if I'm a white person, go to Japan, and I go there, I get citizenship there, will I be ethnically Japanese? No, I'm never going to be
No,
that.
no,
So,
you would be nationally Japanese. It's
but I
just
would
like
not
if
be
you moved to
ethnic,
China, you would be nationally Chinese, but you would not be Han, which is 97% of China.
but I would not be ethnically
You
Japanese,
wouldn't
right?
be
I could be a
ethnically
citizen.
Han.
I could be, I'm just saying I couldn't be I could be a citizen there, but I would not be a Japanese person, right? So we
You
do,
would literally be,
Okay,
you gotta
why
can I
are you
understand.
finish my
interrupting her?
question,
All right,
please?
all right. Let her finish.
Thank you. Just real quick, because this is like when we have these conversations, we don't define the culture of America, right? Because ethnicity refers to our culture. We're having all these debates, all these different things. Yeah, you had a bunch of people from Cuba moved to Florida, but are they American? No, because ethnically they have not taken on the culture of the United States, and so we have to define what the culture is, because that's what makes a person an American. And by bringing these immigrants in who do not assimilate to the culture of the United States, that is how we are losing the United States. That is how step by step we're being infiltrated by people who are not Americans, right? By ethnicity. They might have their citizenship, but they'll never be ethnic Americans. And that is an issue we never talk about. And we need to start talking about it, because it is very vital to the survival of America.
Thank you, Sally. All right,
Oh, oh,
Art Andre
can,
Bruce.
yeah, the idea that you can tie an ethnic group to a landmass is like just not it's like nonsensical, let's just be honest. And when you say Japan, that's like honestly not knowing their history or their culture, because 98% of Japan is your motto. And while
Which
you
means I would
can be
not
Japanese,
I would not know their
ma'am,
culture.
with
I
all
would
due
not be a part
respect,
of
can
their
I finish what I
culture,
was
right?
saying? Like, okay, can you let me land? Okay, so we got to understand that location and nationality have nothing to do with ethnicity. Let's start there, okay? And so again, I'm gonna say this: if you go to Japan, you are Japanese, indigenous. Go look up the etymology of indigenous. It means born in. Your kids being born in that area would make them Japanese. You know what they could never be? Yamoto. Because Yamoto is 98% of Japan. Ethnically Yamoto. You will never be ethnically Yamoto, but you can be Japanese. So I don't, the problem is people don't understand the difference between
Let
nationality
me
and
read I have a
ethnicity.
definition
And
for
that's
you
where it
right here.
becomes
Let me read this
problematic.
definition, okay? Because this is important. Ethnicity refers to a group of people who share common cultural, linguistic, religious, or ancestral traits, often tied to a specific geographic region or historical background. That is what ethnicity is.
And that's your
I would
motto,
never be
ma'am.
that.
Okay, so that's
Unless
what
I
I'm trying to tell you.
assimilated
Your
to their
motto.
culture, right?
No, again, as long as you separate what Japan is or being a citizen of Japan, that's different than your motto, you'll be all
There's a
right.
difference
You
between
will never be your motto,
there's a
but you
difference
can
between
be
race and
Japanese.
ethnicity, and we people don't understand definitions. So when we talk about these topics, it gets confused, and it is important to know what words mean, right? So ethnicity is exactly how I described it. I would never be ethnically that unless I assimilated to the culture, learned the history, learned to blend in, learned to fit in, took on their religion. Then I would assimilate. I would be a part of the culture, but I would still not be by race Japanese.
Okay, there's no such thing as Japanese race. I
Okay,
really
my
wish you stop
apologies. I'm
saying
just
that.
using it as a
And
would you like to pick a
okay, so there's
different
no such
country
thing.
so it'll be easier for you?
Hold on. So now that you understand what ethnicity is, now you just need to learn what nationality is, and then we can move forward in this conversation.
You want to argue about me using Japan and be you want to be
I mean,
technical.
you
Would
don't
you
seem
like
like
me
you
to
know
pick a
what
different
nationality
country
is.
that I know more about, their culture to explain it
Well,
I'm
better?
just
I have
asking,
a
do you know
question
what
for Art. Art,
nationality is?
you wanted to speak. You wanted to be a speaker so that you could have a discussion with her about the difference between nationality and
I
Japan.
wanted to play this clip. I wanted to play this clip about the 14th Amendment, but yeah, I did get caught up a little bit.
Yeah, so
And yeah, just look up the Queen's
I'm trying to bring you back into
yeah,
focus
yeah.
here.
I'm gonna land that conversation with just saying Anybody here can look up the difference between ethnicity and nationality. And your
But
motto is
nationality
98.
is whatever nation that you're in.
Exactly. So so one could be Japanese but never be your motto.
Okay, fine.
Japan is
So what is
98%
it
your
that you
motto.
wanted
So
to say? What clip? What
yeah,
recording?
I'm gonna play. I'm gonna let Malcolm X do the talking here.
Malcolm X what?
Um,
Because I'm on YouTube. So Malcolm X saying what?
it's just a 1 minute clip. It's about the 14th
Okay, go
Amendment.
ahead.
Uh,
You don't got your shit together?
can you hear it?
We can't
No.
hear anything, Art.
God
No, Art.
damn it. Okay,
Art,
can
just
wait. What I want to do? I sent it to Peter. Can you
Art, I
play it,
done
Peter?
heard what Malcolm X said about the 14th Amendment. Is there anybody else in here who has not heard it? Just raise your hand and
I
Okay, well,
Art, try
they
to
got
queue
your
it up
thumbs.
later if you can. If not, then we'll play it towards
Yeah,
the end
put
of the
it in
show.
the
But the
Jumbotron.
general consensus, I did post a dissertation in the jumbotron
Why
with
don't you read
further.
it? Why don't you read it?
I'm just gonna
Yeah,
read the
read what you
title.
wrote.
You can get into it because I mean, there's not enough evidence there. The only remedy for the U.S. government's failure to enforce the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment is reparations. It was a failure to enforce it. There's no real proof of it being accurately enforced for Black Americans. It was great for corporations, mind you. Great, particularly people who benefit from slavery, nonetheless. But not so great for Black Americans. And Malcolm X pointed this out in the 70s, which was roughly a century after the fact. And then you can sit here and judge from the 70s if anything's really drastically changed. I'll just leave it there, even though we have the same representation ratio since 1929, but I digress. Um, we have the same wealth gap since 1968. So Black people couldn't even really predominantly vote at scale. I want to point that out until 1965. So um, it just seemed like how many of these promises get broken and we keep asking for promises. I don't know if the 14th Amendment is going to work for anybody but corporations at the end of the day. So if that's the expectation here, then congratulations. But if you stop immigrants from coming in, yeah, it'll put a temporary band-aid on it. But as far as people worried about them taking jobs or whatever, AI is here. Uh, prison labor is here. Like, if you think that they're not gonna go make their money anyway, I got a bridge to sell you. Um, but I'll end it there.
Yeah, Art, that's why I said earlier it was about a voting block. It's about creating a permanent voting block that can never be overturned rather than the jobs.
Andre and then Bruce, then Lid one.
Thank you, Dana. I wanted to kind of get a feel for you being the host, what you understand about all of this and your take on this, because I see Peter here is the co-host. What's up, everybody? Art, Mark. So Dana, can I ask you, what would you say are the arguments being presented?
Did you just join
Because
the space? Because I kind of said
no,
my
It kind of
yeah,
says
I
in the
did.
title, dude.
I
Like,
well yeah, and I said my points of view like in the first hour. So did you
Okay.
just join the space or something?
No, I mean, I got a gist, of, I think your argument is that that immigrants present uh, some sort of issue for Black Americans, and you kind of went through the history of the ways of immigration from certain groups, and why it is that the United States looks the way it does, and what to make of that. Is that right?
Well, I was specifically talking about when we was talking about the city of Miami
Okay.
and the Cubans coming
But
in and the Haitians.
that's what, yeah, that's what I was missing, was the more broader conversation about, immigration. I didn't really catch your take on it. And then I have my own take, so I'll be quick.
Go ahead.
But I'm asking you,
You
what
asking
is
me?
your
Well, okay.
take?
What exactly are you asking? What's the specific question?
what's your immigration in the
What do
United
you
States?
what do you aspect of it? Are you asking me, am I against immigration?
Andre, if you want to get
Mm,
caught up, what we talked about in the first hour was regarding
well,
the
I was
14th Amendment,
okay.
and it's going before Trump's executive order to get rid of birthright citizenship is going before the Supreme Court on the 15th of May, and we're asserting that
Oh
we're
boy.
excited for it to get overturned, so that people can have birth
Ah,
tourism, come here on a flight or go hop across a border, have a baby, and then win the proverbial lottery by getting out of their shithole country and being able to eke off all the benefits here that we create.
okay.
That
So
was it.
thank you, Peter. That was the base kind of uh,
So then you were
straightforward
not here in
answer
the
I was
first hour.
asking
We
for.
started at 8 o'clock, so you
I w-
wasn't listening.
no, I never said I was here for the first hour. I was
That's what
saying
I asked you. Were you here
I
when I
caught the
started?
Miami part,
All right,
and I
now that
didn't
you
say
know what the
yes.
points are, what is your point?
No, I just want to make sure, Dana, is that right? Did you agree with that more or less?
I don't.
Because I've
Why
been
are
in
you why
spaces
are
with
you
Peter
focused
before.
on my opinion? Are you going to speak like I said a
Okay,
lot, and
all right.
I can't regurgitate everything to you
I
that I
think
said.
Peter
Like
did
I'm
a
not gonna.
fine
He
job.
summarized what we're talking about. So you're asking me
So, do you agree with him or not?
about the
I'm not
14th
asking you to
Amendment.
rehash a whole
It's
hour.
not about.
No.
It's what it is. What are you
Oh
talking? It's
boy,
what it is.
Peter, he basically acknowledged what I was asking, and he
He
answered
didn't. He
me.
didn't. You
And I
you
was asking
confusing
you
me.
if you
Listen,
agree.
you're confusing me right now. I think just
I don't
speak.
know
Just
why.
I think
I asked
Dana,
you if
what
you agree
Andre's
with
asking
Peter.
for is a policy point position, right? Which I gave by asserting and putting in the jibs that I
Yeah,
put into what I said,
you
right, about the
summed up.
shithole countries.
You summed
Yeah,
up our discussion, Peter.
you got to commit, Dana. You got to be able to
that's what he's
commit
asking
to
for. He's
what you
asking for
think.
you to take a position. That's what he's
A
saying.
position on what?
Yeah.
The 14th Amendment is the 14th
I'll move on.
Amendment.
I'll move on.
On
It's fine. It's fine.
he's
All
saying
right, all
like
right.
whether you agree with it or
I'll
not.
address.
Let me step back because it's not me. It's not me. It's not. And we're talking about the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is the 14th Amendment. So are you asking me, do I agree with the 14th Amendment or do I disagree with the 14th Amendment? Do I agree with
Never
Trump's
mind.
stance? Do I
Never.
agree with Donald Trump's stance? Or do I disagree with his stance when it comes to going to the Supreme Court? What the fuck are you asking me exactly?
Might be a double mute.
Yeah, it's W, but I made it plain right there. I gave
It's
you
okay.
options of what is it that you want to
It's all
ask
right.
me.
No, I mean, I don't think I either of those are
You want my
any
commitment
real.
on what?
Oh, I was just saying maybe a better word is an analysis of what you make of how the 14th Amendment is playing. Since this is your title, right? You're making a focus on that and how it plays into immigration. I'm asking you, what is your
Okay,
analysis
all right.
of
So,
the
all right.
immigration in the
If you
United
want my
States and how it
analysis,
affects the
I'm not going
country?
to
Yeah,
regurgitate. I'm not in the mood to regurgitate my analysis. I gave my analysis.
the
I
points, not the whole
actually
thing.
gave my analysis all through the first hour, and it's like you want me to tell you my analysis for what? If you were not, that's why I asked you. Did you not hear it? Did you not hear my analysis? That's why I'm asking you.
It's really not that serious, Dana. I was
Oh
trying to
my
engage
fucking
with you
god, yo!
personally.
I think it is that serious
Peter,
because
Peter,
you
Peter
keep
made his point.
going at it. And
I can address Peter,
Andre, did you hear
but I
me
don't
in
know
the
what to
first
address.
hour of this space? Were you here listening?
No, Dana, I didn't catch our analysis. I didn't catch all of it. I liked your points that you made about Miami, and I was trying to get to the more broader questions about what to make of the United States and the population, what we're dealing with. Peter did a good job of giving a good condensed, you know, rendition of what he thinks
It's
the
not what he
situation
thinks.
is, the problem.
We
That's what it
stand with
So
Trump,
is.
I'm
deporting you
happy to
people.
deal with his.
Dana, let me say it to him. We stand with Trump deporting you people. We don't want you to have the
There
ability to
we go.
use the 14th Amendment because you're here to undermine us.
Thank
We
you.
want you deported
Oh,
by the
he's an
droves, you
immigrant.
and your
Andre's an
babies.
So
immigrant,
that's a
Mark.
sec.
Hold on, hold on,
No,
hold on.
no.
Dana,
Dana,
Dana.
she got to catch up.
See, y'all have
Wait,
to
hold
stop
the
being
fuck
liberal.
up. And we was having a good flow of this space. Nigga, I don't gotta catch up to nothing. Don't ever come on my space and insult to me. You come up in here with your fucking stupid ass questions. You're lost in the sauce, not me. Don't ever come up here disrespecting me thinking I gotta catch up. I don't gotta catch up to shit. You need to catch up. You need to catch up. The shit is recorded. Rewind it back and listen to it. So don't ever come at me like that. You can't even ask a simple question. You taking us through the woods to fucking grandmother house around the mulberry bush. And you asking me to catch up?
Look, it's all love, Mark.
No, you're
I was
fucking
giving.
irritating. So I'm about to go to Bruce. Go ahead, Bruce.
All right.
Is Bruce still here?
Who's Bruce?
Oh, he was up here. He must have dropped down.
Oh man, we lost. He
Hey,
was up here for a while too.
I know. That's what
hey,
I'm saying. Like, I'm gonna stop just going back and forth with people with dumb shit.
Because Dana,
hey, Dana.
you don't get straight to the point with
I'm,
these people. You have to get
I'm,
straight to the point.
But
When you're
that's
hold
why I
dealing
up.
was
with people that
asking him
have
to
no
get to the
respect for
point.
you,
Hold up,
you
hold up,
deal
hold
with
up,
them
hold up,
just
hold
the
up,
way you
hold
need
up.
to be
I'm
dealt
super
with.
petty, man. So I had went on Google and looked up who built the culture in Miami, and it's in the comments. Just throw it in the jumbotrons. I know what I be talking about. You know.
But that is
I
still
wanna
not an American.
is Lid still up here? No, Lid is not up here. Let me bring up who was it?
We got Empress, we got King,
Okay,
we got
Empress.
the Black. Yeah, Empress,
It,
you're up.
it amazes me that immigrants come here and now want to take claim of this country and making it a superpower. This is the disrespect that we are
No,
receiving.
I'm not taking claim.
You
I know you
already
talking
spoke.
about me though.
You
I know you
already
talking about
spoke.
me.
You already spoke. This is the disrespect that we are receiving as Americans, and I'm tired of it.
Because we are very liberal and nice. See, y'all not like us here in the Midwest. Okay, when we deal with these immigrants, we tell you one time, and then we dealing with you with violence. That's how it works. You know what I mean? Y'all were not y'all weren't taught how to deal with them. These people don't have no respect for you. And you deal with people. Some people understand better spitting up blood. And that's how we dealt with the Nigerians here. We dealt with the Jamaicans here. They don't play the game they play on the East Coast with us here. Because you were instantly, you know what I'm saying, we met with brute force. And we don't care how you feel about it. We're going to put you right in your place.
And it's
Quick.
evident you are correct, Mark. You're on code. That's how we have to deal with them because we've given them grace and we've helped them, and he's still gonna come up here and be disrespectful. And not in his country. He's not in his country either. And think he's entitled here. Oh my gosh. Okay, I land. I had to vent, y'all. I had to vent.
Who's what the hell did I write? Oh, ADS.
Hey, Dana. And you notice they don't go to them Ku Klux Klan areas with that shit, do they? You know why? Because they know them Ku Klux Klan gonna deal with their ass with
Yeah.
violence.
AD is
So they
it's
keep their ass in
AD.
and around us where they feel comfortable. Where they feel comfortable. But I'm saying that's for y'all on that East Coast and those other places. We don't have problems with Jamaicans and
Well, here's the
Nigerians like
thing.
y'all do in these other
Wherever
areas.
I go, I
We
don't.
just don't. You know
This
what
is
I
the thing.
mean?
I don't care wherever I am, as long as I know the history. And then when someone who is saying something, and I could pick up that they don't, can you go on mute, Empress? I could pick up when someone don't, and I'm just going to tell them what it is. And if you accept it, you accept it. If you don't, you don't. But going googling something, that's not research. So, and I don't know what the hell that was. And Andre coming up here, he want a synopsis. I'm not going backwards. Like, come on, just talk to the topic. And if you have a question for me, make sure it's specific. That's it. But go ahead, ADS. I'll swing back to well, once I get Empress, ADS and Shamace. We got Shamace, Deborah, and Henrietta, and I'm gonna try to bring Empress in between one of those speakers. But go ADS.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for bringing me up. I did not hear your beginning, but Peter did a very good job. Thank you, Peter, for I don't know what the other brother was going through, but Peter, you did a great job laying it out,
Thank you.
which helped me to be able to make a response and say to each and every one of you how proud I am about this space. I think I've spoken before. I think me and Dana had a little spout one time before. Okay, but Dana, I got number love for you. Um, what I like prior to me meeting you all is that I was ADS, American Descendants of Slaves, which I'm still ADS, American Descendants of Slaves. But Freeman now, but the Freeman, I have fallen a whole new love for, because prior to I'm a military guy, so I'm very analytical when it comes to putting things in proper order. When Swamy and Carl, and I listened to it with great details, explain it in the way that they explained it, it totally all makes sense. It's the most logical thing, and right now, this administration is actually falling in place with the move and that. And so, how I say it and how I try to get people, because I've had people arguing with me about, why are you doing this Freeman? And this Freeman. I said, well, listen up. Freeman is something that the government already gave our demographics of people when they set us free, when they set our demographics are free. But uh, we got taken off the tracks, and then they put it in storage and everything, and so it's been sitting there just getting cobwebs. So I think we're going to rebirth it and put it back on the track. So I call the Freeman like a caboose. It's the caboose that all of us can now get in, because the government has already sanctioned it. It's already sanctioned. It's already there. Okay, so I call it the Freeman Descendants of American Slave. I believe that it has more power than anything that I've ever seen before, that I think help us get, y'all want to call it reparations, I call it inheritance. I say I think it's the best thing to ride on the tracks to get what we all trying to identify with, is get what's rightfully ours to honor our ancestors. So I'm just proud to have reached this group and met you all, and I just want to see where we go from there. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Sha Sha Mason. Shay
Shama
Mason.
Sean.
Shay Mashawn. Oh my God, sorry. Shay Mashawn. It's your turn. You have the floor.
Good, okay, good evening, everyone. I just the pros and cons. This is a good one because as a Black American, ADOS, American descendants of chattel slavery, the 14th Amendment has clause has always been complicated for us because we've always been denied. There is no equal opportunity as far as I can see in our experience for generations. And it has really never played in our favor. But it's funny because mostly people that I know who are immigrants always quote that 14th Amendment.
You're muted. Okay.
So when you say the pros and cons, if we're going to visit this, now here's my question. Does anybody or the executive order or the Trump administration plan to change the 14th Amendment? Is that possible?
Well, it will be changed to a different interpretation, right? That's what's happening, excuse me, on the 15th of May. The Supreme Court is going to hear the case. Now, based upon them reinterpreting what this means in regards to birthright citizenship, that now becomes binding law. It's called stare decisis, and the decision would stand. And so what we'll see if they do interpret it that way is a reimagining and a reinterpretation of the 14th Amendment to not include birthright citizenship, in light of them saying that the individuals who are born, unless they're subject to the jurisdiction thereof, which is the major clause that they're pointing to here, and what actually President Trump put forth in his executive order, that they then would not have the right to citizenship as a United States, under the United States.
And plus, when it says including slaves, and it does states in one area, it says citizens, U.S. citizens, which they are not. So I do agree with that. And this is going to be, I hope it goes through. I hope it goes through because they're really taking advantage. They're doing everything they can. And I hope it works. That's all I can say.
Well, Shay Mashani, you also have to watch the midterms, right? Because this case is coming up obviously before them, but the midterms are instrumental because we are seeing that potentially Trump's going to get another 2 picks on the Supreme Court. And so the more we could solidify his picks being able to get through by having more favorable voices and representation in both the House and the Senate, the more likely we are to being able to get to a better shaped court to throw out a lot of these disgusting liberal decisions and right the ship.
Right, because judges is time. I don't see anywhere. Okay, so maybe he will get somewhere. I believe he'll get somewhere. If he has those 2 picks, maybe it'll work in our favor. That means all of us favor. And as long as it benefits us as a people. And that's my point. Thank you. I'll land there.
Hey, Peter, what is your profession?
I'm just a financier and a sales guy.
Oh, well, I was in finance too. I can tell you were very analytical. I like that analytical tone you got there, bro. So I just wanted to give you credit on that. I appreciate that.
Appreciate the accolades. I was going to be a criminal defense attorney, but life took me in a different direction.
It sure did.
Dana, can I give you a call? Dana, can I give you a call to action?
Yes.
This is a call to action. Peter, I think you might love this, and Dana, you might love this. Once SCOTUS right this wrong and rule in President Trump's favor, and says that birthright citizenship is you have to be born and you have to be subject to the jurisdiction. The first phase, all states submit birth certificates and records of children born to illegal aliens for the past 25 years. Step 1. Step 2, all parents, illegal parents less than 2 years, immediate deportation. Step 3, if you've been here more than 2 years, limited due process and then deported. Step 4, all children that goes back with their parents, once you turn 18, you are able to come back to America. Step 5, no chain migration for those children that comes back when they turn 18. What you think about that, Peter?
I like all of it, except I think we're going to need a shorter look back period on the first one, the 25 years, simply because, and we discussed this before you got in the room, it would be an ex post facto violation, right? So you're not allowed to have a law be retroactively applied because it was technically the law at the time that people came in. I think we can get away with 4 years under the guise that the Biden criminal organization and regime was an aberration in the history of America, and that they fraudulently allowed these people to pour through the border. And so it was not done basically in good faith, and we could probably have that done. But I don't see us going back prior.
We're not taking the citizenship from the children. We're just deporting the parents who are illegal aliens.
Well, if they're here illegally anyway, right, they're gone. But we saw that the other day. We see that with ICE. Thank God for Tom Homan. And the individuals now they're going after judges, which was glorious to see. And it was so great to watch the reruns of all the lefties saying no one's above the law, no one's above the law, can't be above the law, no one's above the law. Well, you're damn right, no one's above the law, and they're going to start locking up judges who violate the law as well. So yeah, we could already kick their parents out if they're still illegal. Yeah, they're on the list. I guarantee you they're being watched by Homeland Security investigations and ICE. So it's only a matter of time. It's not if, but when. But I like the points.
Deborah?
Hi, everybody. I'm late because I was listening to the National Endowment of the Arts. They inducted some people tonight, so it was free to listen to. So I was listening, so I'm late. But I listen to Trump because I don't watch TV and I kind of have a hard-headed brain. So when I heard him cite the 14th Amendment on Martin Luther King's birthday And then I was like, wow, okay, he did that. So I'm sitting back and I'm watching, and the white noise, like I was expecting the judges to start popping out, supporting um illegal immigrants, and for all of us to see, because all of us that are descendants, my thing is, like, after the Civil War, America was supposed to be a better place between whites and blacks, and it kind of was. The Klan kind of messed it up, but like, somebody was talking about how the voting bloc, people couldn't vote up until 68 or whatever. My grandmother never really cared to vote, and I understand why now, because of some personal stuff that I've gone through. But like, I feel like my parents, the ones that were born in like the 40s, the 50s, the ones who inherited our grandparents and great grandparents' wealth, that they let us down. And a lot of those politicians that are in office now, they are of that generation. They let us down. And somebody decide to open up the door, to illegal immigrants, or I know they were letting in decent people. They were letting people come in, for safety reasons. I assume in like the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. But now it's out of control. Yeah, and everything that Biden and them did, it was against the American value. And everybody coming in here now, the one thing that I see that I don't like with the illegals is, I'm here for the money. I'm here for the money. They don't care about the quality of the job that they're doing. They don't care about anything. They're just here for the money. And meanwhile, Americans are suffering. Like, it's so many people in my neighborhood, young couples, young white couples, young black couples. They can't have kids because they don't want to put them on welfare, and they can't afford to have a child and take care of the child and make sure the child is schooled and all of this. So I think, yeah, that they need to do deportations. And then, Mark, you were talking about how we treat immigrants on the East Coast, like uh I would say Boston, I mean the Massachusetts, New York, Rhode Island, like that upper right hand quadrant of the United States. We treat everybody equally. So if they, Dana was from New Jersey, so I understand her mindset on how you deal with immigrants. You look at people one by one, as humans. You don't really look at where they come from until they step on you, and then then you got to do what you got to do. But my thing is, there are people that have been here for 25 and 30 years. They've been doing the right thing, they've been paying their taxes, and they still don't have their naturalization. I think they should be looked at, and I think that they should be blanketed in first, and look at that number, and then decide what you want to do with letting people in. Because I've met so many people that have been here. They tell me they've been here for 10, 20 years, 30 years, and they're not a naturalized citizen because they couldn't afford the lawyer or whatever. And there was one catastrophe here in New York where, like, all of these senior citizens were put in Brooklyn Technical High School, and I went out there to volunteer, and the workers from the state were stealing the sweaters that I was giving the elders. They weren't giving them anything, and I happened to go up to one of the higher floors, and I ran into this man, and he said, "Deborah, all I want is a cup of coffee." And I came back and I brought him coffee, and he was talking to some commissioner who got him a trip home. He said he wanted to go home and die. So the last thing they can do, like if they're illegal or whatever, they can make a request from some politician, and the politician will send them home so they can die. So we really need to take a look at our American status and step up to the plate and take what's ours, whether you black or white. Because I see a lot of ignorant people, talking FBA and ADOS, and they're jumping up in people's faces. And, it's like, uh, some people don't, we gotta step up to our own plate. We gotta look at ourselves. We gotta stop cheating ourselves. We gotta stop killing ourselves. This lady up in Harlem that just got killed, I don't know if she was American or African or whatever, but nobody had a right to kill that lady. She had a store. She was doing good for black people. She was giving black people, a reason to look up and want to own a store, and they kill her. And it's just like, I mean, I'm just upset with everybody, but us as black Americans, as parents, we need to raise our children. We need to teach them to say thank you and no thank you. And but the 14th Amendment, I see that everybody's violating it, and they've all made a mockery of it, by violating it. And I just hope it all comes out. And this judge that got arrested, I hope she's the first. I hope there's many more. So that's what I have to say. And thank you guys for letting me speak.
Thanks, Deborah.
Thank
Hmm.
you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Um, I have Henrietta the Black, and then I'm gonna go to Empress.
Hi, Dana. Thank you
Mhm.
again. Thank you, Peter, and everybody. Um, remember, I'm a California refugee, right? And I'm in Arizona. I got out in one piece in 2019. Um, now, when Kamala Harris, I apologize. I do think I said her name wrong. Kamala Harris. She used to just be Kamala in California. Then they like got all Kamala. It was none of that before, but anyway. Um, her from California, uh, when she got installed as a senator, because nobody knew the Hispanic lady that was running against her, there was only Democrats to vote for her because of the way California elections are, and so Harris just became a senator, and that was it. And she used when she was early on, she used to go down to Southern California. Anybody here from California know what I'm talking about? And she would be chanting with the illegals, "Si se puede, si se puede." She became the vice president. She was picked because Kamala already had the California uh, uh, invasion process cancer to spread it throughout the country. And that's why because she had already been human trafficking, Cali style, you know, that's the cloth that she's cut from. So that's why she almost became the president, and it would have been a wrap, period. The country would have been a wrap. So they want the illegals. I agree with you, Peter, for the voting, but it's even more emergent than that because if you recall, everybody, when President Trump sued about the census, remember, and they dragged it out and all this, but he actually won. But then Pelosi said it was too late to change the census applications. So they still counted the immigrants, excuse me, the illegal aliens. I have no problem saying that. The illegal aliens for Congress, for the seats. They still counted them as, quote, constituents. So that's the immediate thing. You listen to the hyperbole, listen to AOC. It's not illegal to come into the country without, she's saying it's not illegal. It's okay to claim fake asylum. The NGOs tell them what to say. It's so networked. And yes, they tried to take away their money. Doge and Elon have done it in a God sent of a job. And we have a lot, but we see how messed up it is and how deeply ingrained this systemic operation of this losing our country is. So we have a huge challenge. And I hope certainly for healing and for the health of our country, leave the 14th Amendment alone. They're already grabbing onto something else, the Fifth Amendment, the word something. The left only needs a word, but I think that the 14th Amendment, of course, for the health and stop the dehumanization of what the 14th Amendment was ratified for and leave it alone as far as abusing it, pimping it out and everything else. But we did have Miss Cisse Puede, the human trafficking queen, Harris, just an inch. And there was days that she was really close, and I'm sure she was itching for it because Biden was completely incompetent and was just a prop,
She
period.
said Puede came from Obama.
Actually, yes, it did it.
Yes,
If
because I was on
Obama
the I was
started that, because I heard the Si Se Puede. I think Hillary was saying that she used to have pins and everything.
no, but in 2006, 2007, when everybody
Oh, he
well,
started that.
Si se puede, yeah,
Interesting.
because we were using it for him. Yep.
Oh,
Just yeah.
okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, we
But
definitely
yeah,
definitely
so she
dodged a
was
bullet
just
there.
almost,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, she, oh, for sure. But yeah, they want those seats. They want those seats. They want those constituents. AOC would not be even be there if it wouldn't be for illegal aliens, period. They do vote. I'm from California. You can tell I'm from California. Okay. I'm just a happy Californian living my best life
Yeah, I was
out
about
of
to say
there.
California people are always smiling and happy.
Uh, and I'm so happy. Yeah, because if you didn't kill us, we're happy, right?
I lived out there. I loved it. I
I'm
hated.
Yeah,
alive.
because
Yeah, I
the
wanted
sun
to
is
live in
always
Nobody
Texas.
shining.
scares me. And
Yeah.
I've got 2A where I'm at. I'm set. I'm
I don't
Yeah,
good.
Henrietta,
understand how
you,
y'all smile with them high
I survived
taxes.
without the
It's the
2A.
sun, Dana. It's the sun because it's
Oh, I'm
80
sorry.
degrees out there in southern. I loved it, man. I love that weather, but the economy was horrible, and all of
It's
my
horrible.
yeah,
Everything's horrible. It's
and everybody was
uninhabitable.
leaving, selling their houses, going to places where they didn't have
Yeah.
to pay state
well, we could
tax.
flip it
So
red. I think Grant Cardone he's been making
Oh
rumblings about
no.
running in California, so we'll see.
Well, good luck with that. I know that place, and they vote anything with a D. Anything. Anything. Anybody can run. Just go there, put a D next to your name, you're in.
Right.
Yeah.
They are allergic to
Henrietta,
anything.
you made a great
I'm
point.
sorry.
You made a great point about the same thing, like I said, with
Consistent.
the voting.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
also what Sally said earlier was really important too, and it makes a lot of sense because I saw this happen in New York where they had the illegals
Hmm.
come in so they could use the opportunity to rob the taxpayer, right, by putting him in all these different hotels, getting the kickbacks from
Oh
their friends who
yeah.
own the hotels, the meal
Right.
companies with Aramark, who also supplies the prison system with
Hmm.
food. They were supplying all the
Hmm.
food, and those meals were charged at $40 per meal, 3 meals a day for each person, and the meals were probably $5 to create for all 3 meals. So it was just
Hmm.
another opportunity for them to grift, and
What they,
yeah, we saw that.
yeah, yeah, the grift, what they do with our taxes, it's disgusting. We have no representation. And but I'm happy every minute of every day. I'm thanking the Lord. Thank you, Jesus, that I'm out of California.
Thank
Yep.
you, Henrietta.
I'm good. Thank you,
I,
sweetheart. Love you.
I wanna
But see, they do what they do because y'all so happy, just all happy. So they happily taking y'all money and wiping y'all out. That's what happened when y'all happy and just in the sun, bathing in the sun. They started bringing the Mexicans in and getting y'all ass up out of there.
So I'm gonna go to the Black and Empress, and then I wanna really end the space at 11 because that would be like 3 hours, and I think that's long enough. And I do see Duncan wanting to come up. Mm, Peter, when we get an opening or something, you can bring him up. So go ahead, the
Yeah, I'm going to
Black.
rotate some speakers who've already spoke. If you guys want to come back up and Ed,
Yeah, and
definitely do.
anybody who's listening and you want to speak, do so now because we're only gonna be up here for another 30 minutes. So go ahead, the Black.
Yeah, I want to move to the NFL right quick because 14th Amendment kind of made me sleepy. But yeah,
Yeah, I put it on the table. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
yeah. It's just nobody brought it up because you start talking about 14th Amendment and race relations, it get a little hectic. But it does kind of go with what we saying because uh, el- my black people, if y'all not noticing, uh, y'all been replacing sports too by immigrants, and that's why all sports is becoming boring and kind of like non-entertaining when you take out the soul of what America is, which unfortunately is black and white, and you add other people, it dilutes the fabric of what America is, and now sports is boring, and these older generation folks who still have their own like prejudice and bias and self hatred, they they don't want to lose control, so they have to show their somewhat small little power moves to show that hey, we still in power. This is how we prefer things, but you notice that the general public is not with that. So I feel like that's what forced the the white people to go ahead and just draft Shedeur because they want to show him make him an example of yeah, you uppity Negroes can't have a spot, but since the people didn't didn't like the message that was being pushed out and they knew it wasn't no reason for him to be passed up, they trying to clean it up now, which I feel like sports is going to fall for the next couple of years, and hopefully, ooh, we have some new competitions to those major sports.
So your angle is immigrants taking over sports, as in what, the players?
Yeah, when you look at all the black looking players, especially look, we start with MLB. That's what they started out first
Oh
with
yeah, that's
baseball.
with baseball. But
Moved us
okay,
all
so
out.
that's a good point. But let me throw that on the table as far as when we look at black people. At one point, black people, you saw a lot of black American players in baseball. But if you're not, and that starts when you're a kid. So football, basketball, that's popular in black communities, right? And in really America, basketball, football, but baseball is still that American game. But black people stop participating as far as being players in that like
We got
high
priced out.
school, little league. So when it's time to be recruited after college or recruited straight into the MLB, they weren't doing
I'm
that.
going to push back on that, Dana, because I had a brother that played football, basketball, and baseball. And you see that Deion Sanders played both, right? Didn't Deion Sanders play baseball and football?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah,
And so they literally stopped coming to the community and having leagues and removing it out of selecting our children in these in baseball and little leagues and things of that nature. So it is not something that we chose to do. It's been a block to keep us out of it.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that because people can't block everything. Is not that them blocking us from it. It's about interest. I put my son in little league baseball, and because it would we they had a baseball league, but you know what, parents were not interested in keeping their kids in it. So you can't continue to have a program. It starts in your community. Pop Warner, that starts in your community. So when you talk about these football players, some people, some kids, some boys, they first time they play football may be in high school, but true football players, I don't care what background, it starts when they're in Pop Warner, white, black, it doesn't matter. However, and that starts in your community.
Right.
But
And so
even, let me finish. So even with the baseball, and this is where I'm from, you saw less and less throughout the decades of baseball leagues for kids. And then you may have it in the high schools, but even in the high schools, they didn't really play baseball because the focus was basketball, football, and that's got the most attention because even in a high school level, they got financial support. So again, it does go to money where they floating the money to, whether it's private organizations or the school districts, but they're going to float the money to where there's a high interest and then where you see more of a return. So it's not all white people or other blocking us. It's a lot of times it's us not keeping up with
well,
it.
I'm going to push back on that because it's a cost, right? It's a cost, and we're being economically genocided. So
No,
where
it's a cost for football
right,
too.
right, right. And but here's the thing, like, okay, so I know of coaches that have maybe an organization and they have monies that they can support these young individuals, and the parents don't necessarily have to pay, and they will register them, they will get the equipment, and they will take them out. That's what happened with my brother. And I ran track and field, and I had a coach that was well off and was able to have monies that he could also support me and my sister running track and field in AAU because there were costs. And when my as I was growing up and my brother playing the two sports, he in high school, right? And in high school, it still was there a cost. And even in that, he was able to have a coach and some of the boosters of the high school that were able to help him and the costs and things of that nature. So I have seen the decline of area sports for our people because a lot of times now you can't afford it. Now, I have a grandson. We don't let him play football, but he plays soccer. He plays basketball. We can afford the cost, but they don't have they have all of these little leagues that when you go and look at the cost of those leagues, it's money. It's not cheap.
But that's for all sports. So when you're talking about baseball, it has nothing to do whether the white man blocked us from participating. No, nobody didn't block us. You lost interest in it. And if we're going to talk about money, it costs money to put your kid in basketball camp, football camp. You got to pay for the cleats. And I'm sorry, is that a point to where take accountability? If you have a child, children are expensive. Yes, you want to you want them to have education. You should invest in their education outside of the school as well as in, but also extracurricular
But
activities.
Dana,
You have
that came in the community at one point in time. You had boys and girls
okay.
clubs. Yeah.
So my point is this: if it came in a community at one time and it didn't stop because of somebody white or non-black. So
Well, let's
it
just say
stopped
the
for
funding is not there.
it doesn't
Well,
matter. If the
can I,
funding
Dana,
is
did you?
not there, it's not there because of somebody white. You have to, as a community, invest in your community. So if it's a single mother and she can't afford it, then maybe someone in the community can help chip in. That's a community thing.
And that's
It's
what I
not.
expressed,
It's not
right?
a
That's
racist
exactly
thing.
what I expressed about my upbringing and me being able to
Yeah,
participate.
but I'm sorry. Who was that was talking? It
I
was
was
the
gonna
black.
ask you like I think all of it when I was growing up, we had to pass the Robert Kennedy physical fitness test. Everybody had to do it, whether you were fat, it didn't matter. Everybody had to do it. And I think people were more into sports. And when I was a kid, there were community organizations like our churches had all kinds of stuff. And there were community organizations in our community where you had guys who would coach football. We had softball teams, but they were church teams. So everybody was into sports, but it was because we were also required to do sports as students in school from elementary all the way through high school. You had to do the physical fitness test every year. And I thought everybody was doing that still too, but I'm hearing that they're not. So there was an incentive to be involved in sports. And yeah, Dana, I agree with you because in South Carolina where I was from, I mean, all the country boys played football. And then the spring they played baseball, basketball, and some of them, the coach would tell a man, you better learn to do a job because you're never going to make it in the NBA or whatever. But like, maybe one or two of them got scholarships to go to college. My neighbor next door, her boyfriend was paralyzed from the neck down in the 12th grade. So I kind of stopped following football because I saw that, and that was really bad. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just the times have changed, and you have to invest in your children. Invest
Yeah,
in
but
music.
my thing
Yeah.
is don't invest in your kids because you think they're going to go to NBA, the NFL,
Right.
or the MLB. No,
Mhm.
that's like winning a lottery, and that
Mhm.
that takes so much dedication and a whole lot more money. Don't
Mhm.
push your kids to that. Push them, yeah, they can get a scholarship, but make sure that they're majoring in something like engineering or law or whatever. But it
Mhm.
also keeps kids it why why it also keeps kids
Opportunity.
it also keeps kids healthy and out of trouble and focused. You get a lot of life lessons in sports. But I need to go to
Okay.
Empress. I'm gonna go to Empress, and I'm gonna go to Duncan, then I'm gonna go to OG.
Thank you for coming back to me, my gorgeous sister. Let me address a couple things. Was a gentleman that spoke incorrectly, and he was quite rude, constantly cutting you off. Stop allowing people in your space that cannot respect you as a host as well as a woman. Let's start there. gentleman made mention that Farrakhan was not foundational Black American, which is a lie. His mother was Caribbean, and his mother was born 1900, the year of the rat. Let's start there. The father, I would use a predator born the year of the snake. His father was 31 years older than the mother. And ironically, when the father passed away, which was 1952, of the dragon. Now, Farrakhan was born in Bronx, New York, and is my favorite is a rooster. So now if you're gonna tell where someone lineage, you should know that this is all the way FBA. Whether you like him or not, that's not even the point. You made a remark. Somebody has children in the background. I
Sorry,
can't quite hear.
here. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought the mic was closed.
I muted it. Sorry. I'll keep on top of it. Get it, Empress.
So as I was going to say, we're in the year of the snake. And if you understand about a serpent, I like to really cook on this, but y'all not gonna let me have the time, but I'll just make a summary. You're gonna reap what you sow. And from a serpent to a killer horse, which is coming in 2026, is a fire horse. It's all about reaping what you have sown. Your bloodline tells it all. All that you did to slaves, the offspring of the oppressor class, your time is up. So when you thought bringing illegal migrants, immigrants, however you want to label it, into a country, you thought that you were going to replace the descendants of slaves, and it's going to backfire in your face. Now, when the year of monkey comes, and monkey and rooster are neighbors, it's going to be under earth elements. They'll be happy to get back Democrats, and I'm not for either party. They'll be happy because too many who always made mockery of the Black community, losing their jobs when they lose their homes and their health coverage because they love to cut off their nose to spite their face, they'll be happy to get one in. And at that particular point, it'll be a reckoning because you underestimate the Black community and you label them all as uneducated, unproficient, unless you can jump in a bed with them, have them as your athletes, where you get to sit up and lust like Jerry does over their genitalia, because that's a cultural thing that in this country has been happening over 645 years. Some things never change. The hands of time is already here, and it's about reaping what you have sown. Many people get into their personal feelings when it comes to either you're foundational or you're not. And foundational is not just if you had mother and father here, but when you really want to go with foundational, It's when you can trace your bloodline into them 1800s, 17, 16, 15, 1400s. So from 1400 through the 1800s, if your lineage can be proven as here, that's what makes you foundational. So when the gentleman states that he was born here, but as he stated, his grandparents wasn't, that's not full foundational. And notice the tone when it is said to him that he is non-foundation. Look how insultive he becomes. Immigrants need to be reminded innocent men and women had to be brutalized, sexually assaulted daily, children given to alligator bait, children lynched and set on fire. While you want to come here, turn up your nose and talk smack as if somebody really cares what you think or feel. So you have an individual that's going to eliminate a lot of you and show you all that you try to hate on the foundational Black Americans who fought and died so that you can have common rights, and for you to call us lazy and be disrespectful, gonna be the ones you're gonna need in the end. But it's awakening. When you use the term woke, that's a dog whistle in racism. We already know that. But let's take it a step further. You're going to be begging for the Black community to stand beside you, and that's not happening. The days of having Black men and women to put their lives on the line for your mediocre agendas is over. People are showing you now they're not coming out in no protests. They're not standing in solidarity. Those days is over. You had an individual in this space that got into their personal feelings, and they kind of checked themselves while being sarcastic with gaslighting. And they made this remark, well, we're just all Americans. No, it's a difference, because you're quick to want people to go back to their country. Now, if they came illegally, definitely they should go. But Minister Farrakhan made a great point when he was on the Donahue show in the 90s. He says so many of white Americans love to tell Black Americans and some Hispanics and Caribbeans, go back to your country. And Farrakhan said, let's start off with you returning to your origin and return where your bloodline starts before you tell another man, another woman to get out of America. But you was never lynched, set on fire, raped daily, and made to work with no apology. And so now you're into your selfless pride and feeling you don't owe reparations. I love in the Bible when God makes this remark, I may not punish you directly for your deeds, but I will punish your children and their offspring down to the 6th and 7th generation. And this is the day of reckoning. You're going to reap what you have sown. Now, you can get angry about it. You can cut people off if you like. You can curse them. You're still getting a holy behind whooping. And that's a good thing. I do hope, Dana, in your next spaces to come, that one day you'll take me up on the challenge that I gave you in being able to hear when your open enemies that are serpents show you who they are. People shouldn't have to keep telling you time after time what they think about you. Seeing is believing. For me personally, it don't take me but less than a half of a second to be able to scan you and know what you're all about. I can care less about your friendship. I don't care about what your views, if we share similarities, because my mind is on getting right with God. I don't care about everyone else's personal dealings because most people are liars. They just can't keep it real. Some people like to do this for likes, views, and to get attention out of people. And if you notice, even with this Carmelo Anthony, you got many individuals is so focused on how much money, which is mediocre, being raised for this young man's defense, but it's never been spoken of a Carl Rittenhouse and others that have taken innocent Black lives. It's a reverse. And that being said, in this year, the snake, serpents are going to show you who they are right before they attempt to take your life. You don't owe anybody, man or woman, an explanation. Seeing is believing. Let your words be short but meaningful. Otherwise, it's a waste of air, time, and space. You're going to talk about something that enriches the soul, that it should enrich that soul past 5 years. And if I go with the years to come, I'm liking 2028 through 2035. Because I predict it's going to be chaos, and it would be something not, I want to put this correctly, not surprising of future viruses, diseases, and plagues that start promenading because too many people are unsanitized in their spirit, their living, and their mentality, that there's a cleansing time for the earth to come so that people can separate and get their lives together. I've enjoyed taking time with you, Dana. You got to do this more frequent. But I want to see you come on out as a lady dragon and spit fire, because a dragon is in the serpent reptile bloodline. You do know that, right? Is that about right, Dana?
I don't like reptiles, so I would say no.
You may not,
Even though
but
dragon is
a
technically
dragon,
part of the reptile family, but I don't take it literally, more
that's
metaphorically.
no, I'm gonna give it just like it is, straight up from the streets. A dragon and a serpent are cousins. They're reptiles. But a dragon, unlike a snake, a dragon puts fire on the land real quickly.
Miss Cleo,
If,
you driving us
if,
crazy. I got
if you're not doing right, just
driving us
burn up
crazy.
the land. That's just from a symbolic level, not necessarily physical. But some people is not ready for that.
Em-
So when you understand your energy, you got to keep it going. Nothing more, nothing less. Let me stop because too many people is itching to cut it off.
Empress,
You'll see what
Miss
I
Empress, I love it. It's so good. What about water pigs? Can you do a water pig in 30 seconds? I'm a water pig.
Peter, stop. What the
We're
fuck
going
is
left
She's
here.
super
Let's
wise though. She's super
this?
wise. I just want to say, Dana, everything that she's saying is true. And what I'm learning is the whole delineation thing. It's popping because you were able to delineate that guy right away to let he was disrespecting you. And I on some other spaces too, like when you ask somebody a question and they don't answer you directly, it's a delineation characteristic that you can use. They're probably a tether because and I'm starting to see it. I hear exactly what she means. I hear exactly what she
Okay.
means.
Well, thank you.
If you understand what I mean, rightfully so. Your key sign is when you start asking, just like our gorgeous brother Tariq. I love that brother. When you ask them, where are you from? When you jump on the defense and say that doesn't matter, that shows you right then and there you're not foundational Black
Mm-hmm.
American. So you are Heather class. If your mother and father and your grandparents was not here already and they didn't go through that being told you can't sit on the bus, you can't be in our stores, it's nothing you can say. See, my grandmother will be 101 in July. Talk to
Mm.
me. Her sister will be 105, 2025 in
Where do they
July.
live? Where do they
Talk.
live? In what state?
Hello, Detroit. What does that
Detroit.
spell?
Okay. I love it. I
All
love
right. So
it.
listen.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Empress.
Ball.
I do have to
Talk.
get to two speakers here that's been waiting. So join us on Tuesday and Wednesday and Sunday and Thursday spaces. So love to have you back.
Dana, we should do like a card reading night. Would you be down for that,
Well,
Miss
I don't
Empress?
think she does card readings. That's something different.
I don't deal with nobody's cards. The devil's a lie. I don't do
Yeah.
all that. I give up. But now you did ask about water. What is it you want to know
Who asked
about
about
water?
water?
Well, I'm a water pig. That's my sign. I'm the year of the pig, and I'm a water pig.
So you are a boar.
That's right.
Correction.
He's a
Boar. Boar.
Sicilian boar. I wanna go to Duncan. Duncan, then OG, and then I'll swing back to ADS, and then we'll wrap it up. Go ahead, Duncan.
Yeah, how you doing, Dana? I wanted to know your thoughts about this. I wish I could ask the judge as well. It's about the 14th Amendment. Instead of them going over, overturning it, whatever they want to do to it, could it be, since they said that they're trying to specify that it was for freedmen and people who were enslaved at the 1865 and their descendants, could it go before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court could make a ruling that it was only for the former slaves of the United States to solidify our citizenship, instead of going in and messing it up and probably messing us over? Because politicians do underhanded stuff. Republicans and Democrats. I don't trust politicians. I don't think trust in politics go together. So could it if they are really trying to make sure it specifically is designated for the formerly enslaved or the descendants of the slaves in the United States of America, could it go before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court could make a ruling that is just for the descendants
All
of
right,
slaves
all
in the
right,
United States and
yeah.
not
I
for
get it,
nobody else?
but they are.
I know I didn't speak for 100 hours,
No,
but
but
I was just
are
trying
you
to
asking the
make.
question? I'm about to answer your question. That's what the
Yeah, I'm
discussion
done.
was.
I'm done.
All right,
Yeah, I'm
Duncan, just
done.
hold on for a
That's
second.
all I want to
Duncan,
say.
hold on, because it sound you probably can't hear me because it sounds noisy in your background. The Supreme Court will be hearing the Trump administration um arguments May 15th. So that's what we spoke about in the first hour. So yes, it is going to the Supreme Court, and I'm assuming that the Trump administration arguments will be to clarify exactly what the 14th Amendment, who it was for, or what groups of people, not for the illegals. So they're going to be at the Supreme Court on May 15th. Anything else you wanted to add?
Oh no, you answered my question. Thank you, Danny.
Okay, cool. OG.
And just to add to
Okay.
it, Duncan, I suspect they will put that in their opinion if they do side how I think they're going to, which is to get rid of birthright citizenship. I think they'll directly reference the reasoning behind the 14th Amendment and why it was put in place, which can then give further standing for going after reparations or restitution.
Oh yeah, and that would be helpful. That would close that loophole, so all those immigrants, illegal immigrants, and other people can't piggyback off what was for us. And that
Who pressed mute? I didn't
That was
press.
me. That was me.
Uh,
Sorry about that. Sorry, Duncan.
And can you
yeah, but
guys just
that would definitely close that loophole. And I'm gonna drop down. Y'all have a good night as
all
well.
right, you too.
Have a
I
great
want to
end of
can
the
get
y'all
weekend.
to.
go
I want
into
to go to
can y'all
OG.
go into the retroactive part, Dana?
The what?
Retroactive. Did
What
I
is?
say retroactive? Oh, um, what's the word I'm looking for? I just said it. It just skipped my mind just that quick. It has to go back. Like how many years does it go back?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what you said retroactive. So
Yeah.
the reason that we wouldn't have that is because there's a provision in the Constitution called ex post facto law. So you can't have a law go back and punish people for something that was legal when they were doing it. And so that's why I said earlier, I think the best we could get with that or hope to look back would be a 4-year period of time, because there could be a theory raised that the Biden administration was fraudulent. And I think I just saw something earlier. I don't know if it was true, but Trump is supposed to be going to try to charge the people who were in charge of Biden's auto pen, which was the pen that gave them the ability to sign anything they wanted with his signature. So
Right.
we could be seeing a new precedent being set.
okay. Go ahead, OG.
All right, thank you, Dana. Shout out to you, Dana, for having a space. Shout out to co-host Peter, Sway Me. Shout out to the room, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great Sunday. The only reason I came up is because Dana, you were pretty spot on when you were talking about the decline of the baseball little league participation, especially as far as the parents. Maybe we don't know how much participation that the children may have wanted, but it was certainly the parents who were going to have to be responsible for getting an 8, 7, 9-year old, to these ball fields or to these practices or to these games, to these events. Okay. And what did happen, like you eloquently displayed, as you said that there was no participation, and that was true. That was the decline of the little league baseball in the black community. Okay, you would have to have participation. I'm someone who played all three sports. Okay, three major sports. Okay, and with the three major sports, the hardest one to learn after a given age is baseball. Okay, baseball is one of those little sports where you have to like start at 8 or 9 and come on up with it to be able to compete properly with it. Okay, it's not like football or basketball where those sports you could start maybe at 15, 17 and learn to play the game. But with the baseball, there's so much nuance. There's a blade of grass can change the direction and the trajectory of a baseball that's been hit really hard. A blade of grass can change the direction of it. And if you don't not familiar with that, and if you haven't learned that over the years, then you're not going to be a proficient ball player. And they're doing amazing things in the MLB right now. With the guys with the way they can feel these balls at times when they're hit on the infield, is phenomenal. They can feel the ball and damn near throw it over to first base, doing a flip. Okay, and that takes being able to know the game. And the only way you can know the game really well is to start off, with 7 or 8, 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I think my
so
son, I think he was around 8 or 9,
yeah,
and
yeah. You need to start with that. So with the black community, we lost participation. I don't know if it was the interest level of the parents or the non-introductory to the kids. You know of what they were hip with the basketball and the football, and they got into that, and the parents got into it. But when it came to the baseball, we failed to thrive. As a black community, we failed to thrive, and maybe it was because we didn't know as much, or maybe we thought that okay, Johnny gonna get up there and he's just gonna hit a home run, and Johnny gets up there and strikes out. Okay, because Johnny has not learned how to approach the ball. Okay, Johnny has not learned how to interpret the ball, where it's coming at him, because you got many pitches. You got pitches that look like they're coming straight at you and like it's going to hit you. And then all of a sudden it curves off. Okay. You got all of these types of things, and trick pitches and trick plays. So you were spot on. And why I decided to come up and say something was because Miss Swayme said she had to push back, and I was like, well, why you got to push back when she's saying everything that's true? And that was my only reason. Now I can try to tie that into the 14th Amendment, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to shut up right now and say that was really all I had to say. Thank you, guys.
I think that would be interesting if you did tie it to the 14th Amendment. I like connections. I like when people connect stuff. But yeah, it's funny because, well, it's not funny. My brother, he did football and he did baseball, not too much basketball, but and then you see the decline of these programs in the neighborhood in your city. So only thing I'm saying, and then and then you notice, okay, well, who's being drafted into the MLB, right? Um, White men, and then I think that's slightly on a decline. You see,
Even white people are on the decline.
yeah, they
It's
are.
true.
Yeah,
Uh,
you
it's
see,
it's becoming majority immigrant.
right, of Dominicans or Cubans or Puerto Ricans, and then now they want Japanese, they want Asians, because they popularize, like, they're, when you go to their country, that is a popular sport. And then even when you look at, I love to watch the, what they call the Little League Championships. They end up putting it on like ABC, and it's the world championship for the Little League. So, and you don't see too many black kids, but sometimes you do see them. But however, who they're always competing against for the championship are the Japanese or the Koreans, or the Asians.
Hashitachi.
So I think, one, it's like a dying culture here in America, but two, especially when you talk about black community, there needs to be a reinvestment, OG, because I don't know how old you are, but you can contest to it, is if you watch baseball, the money that they make, and that money is guaranteed. See, the NBA money is guaranteed, but MLB makes more money than the NFL and NBA players. The money. So
They
if
That's
don't have a
true.
salary cap.
so,
I'm
which
I'm I'm old. I'm old. So the way I've seen it affected in the three areas that I've seen it affected is in the black community. Starting with the little league, okay, and then that moves on into the HBCU black baseball teams. There's a decline. There's a big decline going
They're
on in
not
the,
even recruiting black players at the HBCUs. They're predominantly others. I've worked at two
exactly. I
HBCUs,
know of a
and they
couple
should not
that
be
still have baseball
recruiting
teams. I know
others.
I know of a couple HBCU schools that do still have baseball teams, but
They're not
they're on the
us.
chopping block. Okay, and then the next area that it comes in is in the college ranks. We still have anywhere from like a 5%. I don't know, 5%. It's probably not even that much. You may have whatever it comes out to with having two black players on every college team. Somewhere like that. Okay.
Well, I'm a brag. I'm a brag because from my area, I've had two World Series from my community. They won 2 World Series. One won two, and another one won one. Look up David Price, and then look up Mookie Betts. My daughter went to school with Mookie Betts and David Price. I know his family from my area playing baseball.
Mookie Betts, is he Dominican?
No.
He's
So
he's FBA, right?
yeah. So it's me. You're muted. I don't know if you're trying to
Well,
say something.
maybe I'm thinking about Soto. I'm thinking I'm getting
But I think she.
some
But
of
I
them.
think. But I think she was talking about. Was she talking about Little League or was MLB?
These are World
She
Series.
Oh,
talking
They
about
the
them
won World
MLB.
professional.
Series.
This
Mookie Betts
MLB.
run 2020, 2024. David Price is now retired. 2018. Black Americans. Freedman.
Fine. Okay. So again, and then even so, this is what I say though. When you look at those professional players, no matter what their background is, that's still a lottery ticket. And then so take it to college because a lot of these guys are recruited out of college. You don't see a whole lot of Black Americans, foundational Black Americans in the field of baseball. So again, when we are talking about sports, predominantly Black Americans are in football and basketball. That's where Black Americans dominate. Um,
When I was coming up, they were being black people were being recruited at the pony league level. The pony league level is just after the little league. Little league was 12 years old, 13 by a certain month, and like that. And then pony league began after that, 13 to 13 to I want to say 13 to 18, but I'm not, it may have changed. Maybe it's 13 to 16. I'm not sure what those numbers are at this point. And then you have your semi-pro levels, the semi-professionals, the farm leagues, double A, triple A, single A type of thing. But it all has to do with the decline in the black community with the participation from the parents and from the children themselves. You have to have that participation in order to you have to be able to show like numbers. You have to show interest. You have to show initiative. You have to show that the community is willing to back these kids. Okay, you have to be able to show the community support in order to get people to recognize.
and
It's a
that's what I'm
simple
saying,
thing.
OG. I totally agree with you because I don't I don't want to hear the narratives of, oh, they block us or the white man keeping me down when no, they're not.
No, that's not the
If
case.
you're not taking an initiative to show the participation, to show that I want to push my kid here, I want to organize this, so that they can have this league or whatever it is. You have to, like you said, you have to take the initiative and participate, and that is just not happening, and it's a lack of accountability when you want to shift to a different narrative or a different answer. And it's like, but the truth of the matter is you are not doing your job. You're not. And if you were doing your job, and then if there is a barrier with money, you go find the money. Money is out there. Money is not an issue here. You go find it. Private sector, there is a whole lot of people with a whole lot of money that are willing to throw money at you because number one is the tax write-off, and then people with money like to do charitable things. So there's really no excuse. That's the only thing I'm saying. And and I
Yeah,
don't want to, and I'm not going to sit up here and say, well, the immigrants, they come and they take over. Well, their parents, their community, they organize and push them to in that direction.
but their enthusiasm goes all the way back to the other countries that they come from, like Puerto Rico. Their enthusiasm
They,
goes
they
all the
but
way
they
back.
go and
But they
recruit
see
them
them
out of
playing
those
stick ball.
countries.
They see the kids playing stick ball in these other countries, and that shows initiative. Okay, and that's coming from the kids. That's not even mentioning what the
That
parents are.
reminds me of the story of Venus and Serena Williams, and their father took them out on the court and in Compton, and started coaching them himself. and created these world class players, right? He did it himself, even after attempting to get monies that no one wanted to support these little poor girls in Compton. So, when you got time, I guess you can do that. But if you got to put food on the table and you ain't making no wages or salary that support you, and you got to work two jobs to put a roof over your head while everybody else gets all these benefits and resources from the government, it does make a difference. I land.
No,
Main
I,
reason
I
why the
get what you're
thing.
saying, but black people get benefits from the government as far as social services. But
No,
again,
no, I'm talking about you get these people are getting set up, Dana.
well,
Come
I'm
on
not
now.
talking
You
about
saw how
the
they just got set up in
I'm
here
not
in
talking
this
about the
country.
illegals that just crossed the border.
I'm talking about the Cubans and the refugees that got billions of dollars in 1993 in the city of Miami. That's what I'm
Which
talking about. You look at disparity studies and you look at
okay, I know.
see how people have been
Hold on
set
for a
up in
second.
America.
I know. Don't hold on for a second. What that got to do with Black Americans not participating in your kids' sports?
I think it's because we are having to work and put food
Everybody
on the
has to work.
table that
Everybody
everybody
has to
else is
put food
getting a
on the
hand up
table.
and a lift up. I
Everybody,
think that's a major thing.
Everybody has to work. Everybody has to put food on the table. Now,
Right,
a
right.
Cuban.
But
Hold on for a
we're
second.
not
Hold on for a
getting
second. Hold on. Because
okay.
just because a city gave a group some resources, they still got to get their ass up and work. So
I never said we don't work, Dana,
if you're
but
not,
they
let
are
me
getting
finish. If you are not collecting a welfare, sitting on your ass collecting a welfare check, which means you got all the time in the world, everyone's getting up, going out there to work. I don't give a fuck what a immigrant who just, whether you came here yesterday or whether you came here 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, I don't give a shit what you came here and basically what you got. I'm focused on what am I doing, number one, as a parent for my kid, and number two, as a community. Because the same shit that the government's giving them, nobody said we can't sit up here and petition and fight for those same resources. And when I'm talking about accountability, if you ain't getting your ass up going down to City Hall, I don't give a damn if you're tired or not from working. That is your duty. I don't care if you, it's been times I get off work, I'm tired, but I still got to take my kid to his sports. And that's why you're supposed to have two parents active, whether you're married or not. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. And if we do see an outside group like all of our Americans that we did under the Biden administration, we saw these illegals coming in, getting all these, free housing and free health care. Well, what happened? Now we uprooted the goddamn administration, put a new one in, and now they ask getting deported. So that same type of energy and participation needs to trickle down in your communities. That's what I'm saying. So
okay, and I agree with you. However, let's look at something. Affirmative action. Our ancestors fought for affirmative action for over 10, 15 years. The bill was passed, supposed to right a wrong, and white women, Asians, the new humiliated immigrants, everybody is benefiting, but the Black American Negro Freeman that fought for it. And on top of that, redlining
we
everything in
never
our
fought for
community
affirmative
gets.
action.
I'm sorry.
We never fought for affirmative action, and
Yes, yeah,
we
well,
never benefited from
it's a part
affirmative
of the
action.
civil rights bill. It's a part of the civil rights bill. There is legislation that they changed it to minorities so everybody benefits. And I have a video of a senator, a female senator, that literally stated, "Oh, I'm adding sex into and amending the Civil Rights Act so we can include white women."
Yeah, because
That's
the
how it
wording needs to
started.
be
So
black
I'm not.
minority.
I don't want to
Right.
argue
So
about these things,
again,
but I'll
no,
just
no, no,
land
no,
it
no.
there.
I'm talking about Black Americans. We did not fight for affirmative action. Even a lot of stuff was included in the Civil Rights Act. Civil Rights Act was not just for Black Americans. That is for all of America. That is not race based, and it cannot be race based. See, that's the core of it. Civil rights is not a race based law or act.
The affirmative action was particularly to rectify harms,
Of
and they
who?
included many of things into
But it
affirmative
was never
action.
race based. It's and
Well,
so one thing. See, one thing I do respect about the what Mark called them, those African Americans, when we're talking about SNCC or the NAACP of those times, or just the people who were in the civil rights movement, they had a lot of lawyers. They had expertise in different fields, whether it was housing, business, especially lawyers. And they knew, because I'm constantly talking to the judge about this, they knew you cannot put race. It cannot be race-based. So the Civil Rights Act was not just for Black people. It's just that Black people were the ones that took up that mantle. Because if you pass this bill, yes, it's going to benefit all Americans, but it's really going to benefit us. Now, throwing in that affirmative action, because it's not race-based, we should have benefited from it. But again, just like DEI, white women benefited the most from it. My whole point is, I think that, yes, illegals need to leave. But as far as Black Americans, I'm not pocket watching, well, what you got. I'm pocket watching what I have or don't have. And then if I don't have it, how the fuck I'm going to go get it?
Well, that's why we're doing what we're doing, but everybody's definitely pocket watching us and definitely trying to make sure that we don't pass specific legislation for us. Hence the reason they want to black and brown or BIPOC. Everything that we do, they have to attach themselves to it so we don't get anything specifically for us. Hence the reason why I'm loving the birthright citizenship and the 14th Amendment, because there's going to be a reckoning in America about how this all came about, and it wasn't for them. And then it helps us to set the stage for us to be freedmen, and no one else can get any legislation under Freeman. It's a beautiful thing. It's aligning. We're a founding population of Americans. There's no reason why, I'm going to say it again. There's no reason why we should not be at the top of the hierarchy and everybody else is coming here as if we were really equal and protected citizens of the United States,
I have a
and
question for the whole
rectifying that
room.
that we should have others coming in here above us when we do all the work. You just admitted that we did a lot of work. So everybody can be protected, but yet and still we are not. Our land.
Yeah, I have a question for the whole room. Does anybody in the room know when the last time they heard the two words black minority in any bill, in anything constitutionally or anywhere? When is the last time you heard the words black minority?
That's gonna be considered race based because it's
But
specifically
those
for
were the
black.
wordings at once. In the 60s and 70s, those were the wordings. Those were wordings that were in bills and in legislation. Black
Right.
minority.
They were. They were. And
I
those
thought
were
I thought they were
there
still.
were more so public policies. They were in a lot of public policies, a lot of urban renewal policies during that time. So what happened to those? And if you have politicians, that are changing the wordings from black minorities to just all minorities, and that goes back to who are these people you're voting into office, and then you constantly keep them in there. See, people don't pay attention. People just don't pay attention locally, and a lot of and what's happening, that the because you don't pay attention locally, that spills over into Congress. So, and that's what people just need to be reprogrammed. But you're absolutely right, OG. They if I was not born then, but going back reading some of those documents, they had a lot of policies that had black minority. That was the thing, and that was coming out of the civil rights movement era. And then there was a lot of upward mobility in the 60s, 70s, and even going into the 80s. And then, a lot of times you still have you had crack, okay, but then you also had a change of the economy where corporations were kind of taking over and depleting a lot of the jobs here. When you look at Detroit, automotives, that industry being shipped overseas. So when we talk about
NAFTA.
that too, so a
Yeah.
whole bunch of globalization that started going on. But you're absolutely right. And Black people were benefiting, and then it just went on a complete decline. But what should have happened, people should have been paying attention. I'm like, okay, who is supposed to be representing us, and are they doing their job? So I don't know. Peter, did you bring somebody up 7? Because I really want to close out.
So
So
quickly, if you
she was here earlier.
Oh,
That's
okay,
why,
that's
and
right.
she
She was here.
dropped.
Okay.
Yeah.
quickly, Peter, you said before, I like to like double check to see a lot of these people that are representing us may not even be American born, and they should be in Congress, the Senate, even local politicians. I think they should be, locally born to the state or the city, that they're living in. And we're not checking it because AOC, when you go into her community, nobody knows her. They said her father, somebody with her father's last name, may have lived at the apartment at the address where she used, as an address to run for office. But people really don't know AOC here in New
She's
York.
affluent. She's from Westchester. She
So
comes from an
yeah,
affluent family.
she left the Bronx and they moved to Westchester when she was young. However, she came back there, and how she got elected, she did just start off. She was knocking on doors. She did do a lot of groundwork.
Hmm.
So she did some groundwork, and yes, she ended up having some backing when she started getting some more momentum. But she did a lot of canvassing. She took it. I want to say that's old school because that's still relevant today. So let me go to 7. Go ahead, 7. You're the last speaker.
Thank you. I appreciate you for letting me up. Y'all can hear me.
Is
We
ADOS
can
going
hear
to
you.
get a
Yes.
chance?
Oh, I'm sorry. And
Yeah,
ADS
ADS
is
has his
after.
hand up as well,
Yeah, I'm
Dana.
sorry. So after 7, ADS, you'll be the last one. But we can hear you, 7.
Thank you. Shout out to the host and co-host of this space and my mutuals in here. I just wanted to chime in real quick on the gentleman who had made the comment saying that when we used to represent ourselves legally at one point, we used to use the term Black minority heavily, which I'm informed on and absolutely agree. And I would have to argue. I think the reason why that changed is because we acknowledge the era of the 70s and 80s where we're having a surplus of people who are classified as Black Americans and then coming over here, and we heavily marginalize ourselves, and we're doing a lot of assimilating that then loses value of what it was originally used for, to identify a specific ethnic group of Black Americans that are here. I think because we have become so grouped up with one another, that's why that term has got lost in the sauce for us legally, because it's become too broad now.
The 14th Amendment, you saying became too broad, right?
Yes, I would argue things when we're talking about stuff from ranging from affirmative action to the DEI and the 14th Amendment. A lot of it was used to be in a broader term because in the end road, we are seeing that it's not exclusive to identifying these group of people that we feel like was the premise and basis of these things rolling about, right? We would argue without Black people taking initiative in this country, without things talking about from the sparks of the civil rights movement, a lot of stuff wouldn't be transpiring without this specific group of people. So of course, when we acknowledge that they try to have wiggle room to then make it out to saying affirmative action, then wiggles out to these Asians and white women and DEI ends up benefiting and yada yada yada, it then goes to show that the premise of it was never meant to actually include us in the first place. I think that's why the Constitution was meant to be implemented and we still weren't free legally, right? So it's like, I feel like this is just another implication and depiction showing that when they try to argue that they're making stuff for us, we're seeing that in the long road, they didn't have us in the in the beginning of the picture.
I think that's
Yeah.
a good.
I just want to interject, and I'm gonna go to you, ADS. It's like they use us and then they abandon us. So, go ahead, ADS.
Wow. I want to thank you for putting this space together. I've been listening for quite a long time. I want to thank all of you all. And being I'm the last person here, y'all have put so much information out there and everything. I thought I knew what I was going to go and everything. And then she just came in there and just said what she said about the use of color and the minority and everything. And so that leads me to the older woman that was talking. I think I need to stay on point with this. I think this is probably. I thought I was having like something going on. This the woman spoke. The older woman that was speaking. She sounded like she's a mystic. Mystic. Who is she? Peter. Who was that? The woman, the older
You talking about Empress?
Empress. Empress.
Miss Empress. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a I don't know. She knows a lot about the
Well, listen
mystical
up.
things and the esoteric.
Miss Empress, that voice, it made, I was 20 years old, and I had a woman like that stop me and just stop me out of the blue. I was out in Kentucky, and she stopped up and said, "Young man, come here, and I need to talk to you." And the same voice. I mean, I thought, I like, oh my God, she can't be still alive. No, can't be. And she prophesied to me. She said, "You're going to have a lot of children. You're going to do some good. You're going to do good." I was only 24, 25. I remember this so clearly. And I like, okay, fine. So I go on everything, get married to my first wife and everything. And in Germany, I find out that I'm sterile. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm sterile. I can't have any children. Okay. But I go and adopt, okay, and I adopt a child and everything. Then I adopt my wife's her son. You know, I hear y'all talking about school. Dana, you spot on. I was financially well off or capable that I was able to attend my children's, both of my kids, things that they wanted to do. My son wanted to play sports. He was no good. I used to come and try to see him. They sitting on the bench. I say, "What?" Go to the coach and I say, "Why my son sitting on the bench?" Any father, here it is. Your son can't play. Sir, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. But they was telling me that my son was no good. So I had to talk to my son and told him, "Hey, boy, yeah, your dad got a lot of work. I'm an entrepreneur. I got a lot of things I'm going on. I love to see you playing, but you're not playing. You just sit in the bench." So I encouraged my son to find something else. Turned out that young man went out and got involved in being the president of the school and got a lot of different things that landed him an academia scholarship. And he went to Duke University and everything, became an attorney. Now, I say that, not my blood, just an adopted kid of mine, but I influenced him. My 18-month-year-old daughter, okay, we readopted her from 18 months. Not my seed, but I raised her, adopted her from a drug-infested mother that had 5 kids, and this child, she left the child in the home and everything. My first wife and I, we came and adopted her 18 months. So that young lady is going on, graduate from West Kentucky, educated, doing what she's doing and everything. Excited. But here's the crazy thing: when I heard this woman talking, and it made me feel about this woman said I was going to have a lot of children. She prophesied this to me, and I've wondered, why did I all of a sudden get this back? Well, it hit me. I had a lawsuit. Found myself in a lawsuit. Got fired. They thought I was some person they could just get rid of me. I found out I filed a lawsuit against them and everything, and I won my case. I am now an author. You're talking to a gentleman he didn't even graduate from high school, who got picked on from being able to not write very well on Facebook and everything. But now, me, Sean Daniels, is an author. And spiritually, I've come in doing my court case. And that's what I wanted to ask her. And I'm sharing this with you because it leads into the 14th Amendment. During my court case, when the plaintiff were litigating my case, I thought I was going to lose. Literally, I could tell you I failed because I had already mentioned to them that I am not fighting for reparation here. You all are y'all treat me like I'm black. I'm saying I'm an American, and they lied on me, and I'm fighting for my rights as an American. They kept trying to litigate me black. They tried to litigate me as a minority. They kept trying to litigate me as someone that I needed to, they thought that I needed to file. Me showing, why didn't you file this case based on race? Why isn't the NAACP with you? Why you don't have NAT with you? And this and that. I said, because I am an American. I'm a surgical technologist that they wrongfully done me wrong, and I'm fighting on that piece. Now, here's what happened. I'm in the courtroom, and I'm telling you, no lie, I felt the spirit. I felt like a chill come over me. It looks like the plaintiff was going to win. I mean, it was looked at. And by the time I got to the other side, my attorneys, I heard them raffling through papers and everything. So my second attorney, the judge says, "David, we're about to make a ruling on this case. Do you have something to say?" And in that instant, that David said, Your Honor, Mr. Daniels, I'm his second attorney on this case, but the first attorney filed this case a certain way. And based on that, I need for you, Your Honor, to turn back to this case and look at how he filed this case. I'm saying all this because witchcraft and spells is a real thing. And I did not know that until I talked to some friends of mine and I told them what happened in the case. They told me, Sean, just like the Harry Potter and all that, the wizards and everything, the judges are wizards, the the attorneys are wizards, and they all know spells, the law and everything, nothing but spells. So that leads me to the 14th Amendment. We are in our time to force the government, I'm pausing for a reason, force the government to do right by us. The spell, the policy is already in place. We just need right people to represent us and force their hand to do right by us. Uh, it's no, I'm truly telling you, I don't think it was no accident for me to have gone through what I've gone through. Had y'all ever heard that before? That witchcraft and spells is what the law is made of. Have you? I never knew that until I talked to some of my friends, and they told me. I got some pretty deep partners, my friends, and they say, "Boy, you witnessed you witnessed witchcraft and spells, brother." And I'm telling you, my ancestors came and they changed that case. And now here I am talking about. And when I just said that this woman witnessed to me and said I was going to have a lot of children, now I'm a believer. I'm a believer. You know what my children are going to be? People who are going to be reading my book. People are going to be talking about. It's the people, friends, spirit, the people that know me. Okay, everything. I'm here to tell you, I'm so proud of you all. I believe something big is about to happen for us culturally. We just got to stay the course. And I think the Freeman, Descendants of American Slave, is actually the best thing I've heard in my entire life that is going to work for us.
I have a
And I
question.
landed here.
So you believe in the witchcraft?
Okay, this qualify what I'm saying to you. I was told that witchcraft and sowing of spells are actually real things that occur. Now, prior to me, and that, I would have told you no. I don't believe in witchcraft, and I don't believe in wizards because all that crap I think is that. But if I had not experienced what I experienced in that courtroom, I would tell you no. But I experienced something that was very mystic and very odd and very unusual. And I would say to you now, especially when I go and talk to my friends, people that I have a lot of value, and I told them what happened, and they told me about witchcraft, and they said that the legal law, they said the law, all these books and everything, these are all the law go all the way back. You know how far law go back? Law go way back, way back. Okay, they saying that all of that is witchcraft and sowing of spells. It's all it is. The wording. That's why, matter of fact, if you talk to other cultural people, they said the
Wait,
American
the,
legal system is the most demonic and witchcraft. You talk to just other cultural people that talk about the American legal system. It said our legal system is so witchy and witchcraft. It got a lot of stuff. It's so many meanings and so many terminologies. You just got to know how to do it. And if you don't sow the right
how did
legal
they
law,
how did so I think that's more of an opinion to, and I guess they're trying to allude it to something demonic. Politics is dirty,
you,
and it's always been that way, but a lot of the way we word things is similar to Rome, the Roman Empire. So I think when people say, oh, it's interpreted it as witchcraft or whatever, that's just an opinion. That's not so much of a fact. I think that's a not opinion, that's a theory. I would definitely say that's a theory, but I'm not claiming that as a fact. I don't get down with witchcraft at all.
Dana,
I'm not saying
I'm
that
not.
you do, but I get what I do understand what you're saying.
That
I would have said the same thing,
no, no,
Dana.
no, no, no.
Okay.
I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm not
Okay.
saying
You're not
that.
saying that it doesn't exist.
I
Okay.
just don't participate in it. Some people
I don't either.
no,
Don't
no, no.
want
I'm
to.
not saying that you do, but even if someone was to come to me, if they were a foreseer, that doesn't necessarily mean witchcraft. Just because you may foresee something, and that's why people a lot of times use that word witchcraft very loosely. And also, just for the room, Miss Empress, I'm not putting that on her because she never said she was, and I didn't get that from
I
her.
think you missed. I was not calling there.
No,
I
no, no. I
wasn't.
was just making it clear, not for you. Just
Okay.
people take
Because I wasn't implying that she was.
right.
I said she prophet. When I heard her voice, it felt like the woman that prophesies over me about me having children.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then I learned later that I'm sterile. And then I win this court case, and now I'm an author.
Right,
And
but
now I
prophesy.
don't.
Yeah, I'm just saying prophesizing witchcraft does is not necessarily the same thing, and I think
Right.
so. That's
She was
what I'm
talking
saying.
Chinese astrology. That
She
was Chinese astrology she was talking about. Uh, and then there's also the Masonic views. When I know in the courts, it's like, I mean, just
yeah,
like
but
Dana's
Masonic
saying,
doesn't
it's
mean witchcraft
yeah,
either. So
yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's
yeah,
like
it's a
I've
lot.
heard Masonic about the judges and attorneys, so I agree with you, Dana.
All
You
right.
know,
So
yeah.
I think this was
I
a really
think
good
demonic
space.
possession is more true.
Hmm. Yeah. So this was a really good space. I'm getting tired,
Yes,
and it's been
I'm tired.
over
It's
three
past my
hours.
bedtime.
It's been over 3 hours.
Hey,
Thank
thank y'all for having this space, Danny. You did I love this, Peter. I would ask you to please look up the terminology, if you don't mind, the liberal manifesto. If you don't know anything, the liberal manifesto has been around over 20 plus years. They've been playing this book on us culturally. The liberal manifesto agenda has been something they've been playing over 20 years, and I think you're someone that should look into that, and you'll find it very interesting.
And
Definitely.
an entomology
All
dictionary,
right,
because
guys,
yeah.
I gotta go.
But I
I
gotta
gotta
go.
go. I
Okay,
gotta
good
go,
night,
guys. Thank you,
everybody. Good
everybody.
night. Good
Appreciate you,
night.
ADS. Appreciate
Everybody
everybody in the
that's
room.
here. Thank you guys so much. I gotta go, and because I got a phone call, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Bye.
Good night, Dan.